evening, everybody. Welcome to the following program. I'm your host, Joe Neerman, a.k.a. Good Lawgic. It's been 24 hours since the debate, or thereabouts. 24 hours ago, we were in the midst of the debate, or almost just about to wrap up the debate. Almost 20, just stop being so ticky. Almost 20, just about 24 hours. And the social media has been this very chaotic mixed bag. A lot of people trying to say Kamala had a great night, phenomenal night. Some people on the right are fetching about the moderators, getting very mad at ABC News for their slanted. The most common complaint has been the slant when it comes to the fact checking, and that's why I was like, you know what? Let's take a good look. Let's take a good look. Let's assess all the different places where they could have and arguably should have fact-checked Kamala Harris, because people are making it. CNN had a thing up there saying 33 lies by Trump to one from Kamala. One. CNN, you poor thing. Why are your numbers dropping always? I don't know. Why are numbers always dropping? Why are they always dropping? 33 to 1. So when you're watching and covering it live, or taking it in live, and you're sort of seeing the back and forth, and I'm assessing the questions, the moderators, and Trump, and I'm assessing Kamala. You're sort of getting a vibe. You're getting like a vibe, and you're not actually zeroed in on any one. Sort of making little mental notes here to myself as I'm trying to keep my commentary going, making mental notes about different comments and zings that Trump would throw out there. And once in a while, when Kamala, she got one or two punches in at him that I thought probably landed pretty well. And you can't fully appreciate when you're watching something, making that assessment, things that happened 30 minutes earlier and other things. It's sort of like in the scope. You just have a vibe, but you can't really digest it all in that first initial setting. And that's why I think it's important for us to review, go over what we saw last night. And I'm really just going to fixate on Kamala. I'm going to skip right past the Trump moments. We are going to be watching bits of the sections of the debate where Kamala was talking, and I'm going to be pausing and saying, okay, boom, lie here, boom, lie there, boom, lie. If I miss something, call me out. Say, Joe. Or if you think I'm wrong and that's not a lie, call me out. I want you to. You can drop a comment down below. Say, Joe, you knucklehead, what the heck is wrong with you? How did you miss this? How did you miss that? That's fine. That's fine. I'm cool with that. Totally cool with that. So, $5 to never appear on X Spaces with Jared again. Really? What about Brian? Jared, I see Jared claims to be Republican, which is kind of funny. It's like me claiming that I'm a progressive. I'm very progressive. I hate Kamala. Oh my God. I hate Joe Biden. Trump is the greatest president we ever had. I'm very progressive. I'm very into green energy, which is why I think it's really important that we have to get lower oil prices. That's Jared. That's Jared right there. You're like, what the hell? You're like the least Republican person I've ever. You're like, this is like Sean King kind of claiming to be black type of thing. You're just like, wait, let me. What are you trying to sell me that you are? I guess I'm not hearing it. I'm not feeling it. Anyway, guys, so excited about Taylor Swift endorsing Kamala. So excited to say that the elections are perfect. We don't need to have more integrity in our elections. I'm very Republican. I can't. I did become a host on a space today with George Santos, and what's pretty funny is the first time I was introduced to George was like you. I didn't know anything about him other than the fact that he was a Republican from Congress, and all these reports come out about how his entire resume was garbage. I mean, just what the hell are you talking about? And I had a great time lampooning his whole Jew. I'm not a Jew. I'm Jewish. I had a phenomenal time just mocking the heck out of him. But I will say this: a lot of his opinions I really agree with. A lot of things that come out of his mouth I really agree with. Not everything. Some things I'm just like, eh. He ended up teaching me about how Congress works today, how the sausage is made in the back rooms, which if you only like 100 people were in the space when we were having this part of the conversation, he didn't record it. I was thinking tomorrow on Locals, I plan on going through with you and explaining to you and talking to you about the SAVE Act. And this is a very big deal, which may lead to Congress being shut down next couple of days. And the SAVE Act and how it's being tied together to the CR. And he was explaining to me how things work with whether or not a bill gets through or not on levels that if you're not in DC, you don't understand. And he's been there. I know he was removed, but he's been there. He knows how this whole thing works. So I plan on covering that on Locals tomorrow, which is goodlogic.locals.com. Tomorrow afternoon, I plan on going through that, walking you all through exactly what he was explaining to me about the SAVE Act and why it is that, which is a combination of an election integrity bill together with a CR, continuing resolution, which is very anti-Republican, where it's basically saying, or at least very anti-MAGA, where it's basically the objective is, let's just keep Congress open and we'll roll over. We're not going to, we'll pay the same stupid pork bills that we've been paying forever, but at least for like another 6 months or so. That's essentially what the trade-off was in this SAVE Act. And I was talking to him about the different political figures who were fighting over this. Ended up being an entire debate about our election integrity, which went on for like 3 hours. Those of you who were fortunate, if you follow me on Locals and you knew I was in there, I ended up hosting it. I wasn't supposed to host it when it started, but I had a good time. And what's interesting is, like, the first time I ever was introduced to George Santos, I thought he was kind of a joke, and now I consider him kind of a friend. Kind of a friend. Like, he said he would come on to the show here for a night. I think I would have George Santos on here. Yeah, for sure. I would take George Santos on here. Anyway, that's not cool. That's not cool. I see what you did there. That's not cool. Anyway, so Jared was in there, and he's kind of interesting individual. But another lawyer named Brian Friedeberg was in there, and he's crazy. He's really crazy. But I don't want to get into that. We need to get into Kamala and debunking it. And you might be feeling today the same way. I think this guy does a great job of expressing how a lot of Republicans, a lot of Americans feel after watching last night's debate. Kamala didn't say it. Let's make you a little louder. I'll make you a little louder. I will warn you that his volume increases as it progresses. His volume gets a little bit louder. So just warning you. But we don't want to miss the beginning part, so we're just turning the volume up full and let's let it rip. Kamala didn't say a motherfucking thing in that debate. Laugh, giggle, and smile like she tickled me fucking Elmo. Mouth open like Ghostface Killer off the Scream franchise. What the fuck is so funny? Meanwhile, Trump is answering serious-ass questions with serious-ass responses because the country is in serious-ass trouble. I'm at a point where just looking at her on television pisses me the fuck off. Sleepy Joe is better than her. Why is she always smiling? Why is she always laughing? I didn't see Cat Williams or Chris Tucker in the fucking audience. I have a perfect fucking solution for this. I know a way for her to stop fucking laughing all the time. We need to put Kevin Hart, Amy Schumer, and Tiffany Haddish in front of her. We'll guarantee we won't see a motherfucking laugh. People are struggling. Life sucks right now. People living paycheck to fucking paycheck. And having midlife crisis in their fucking 20s. We can't eat. We are stressed, sleeping. We work just to survive for the next fucking day. It ain't a motherfucking thing funny. respectfully, I thought he was funny. He was funny. I thought that was funny. He's right. I'm sure I can get him on here. I don't think he even knew I had a program. At the very end of the space, when he was wrapping it up, I said, I never do this, but I probably should do this more. I should plug that I have a show every night at 10 p.m. called The Following Program. And we talk about law, politics, and I try injecting some humor in there. And, urge you all to check it out. And maybe one day I'll get George on. Maybe one day I'll get George in there. And he's like, sure. So I was like, cool. All right. Thomas Massey's return to Congress yesterday was epic. I think I saw an X. I didn't see it. I didn't even know about it. Maybe someone will link me up. I don't know. Did you see Megyn Kelly reaction on the moderator in that debate? She had an hour and a half long thing. I didn't watch her. I did not. I know that she was very, 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 very angry at them. Really, she was livid. I know that, look, I was much kinder in my assessment of them than most people. I thought their questions overall were relatively fair. I do think that they showed their tilt, and the reason this tilt is significant, is because if you're just watching two people who are yelling at each other, and then you have mom and dad there sitting there weighing in on one person's side, it makes the viewer feel as if the person who they're siding with is the one who's in the right. And that's what's unfair. That's to me what's unfair. They're coming in there saying, you're not telling the truth. You're not telling the truth. You're not telling the truth. And apparently they fact checked him 5 times during the course of the debate, which that's a whole bunch of times. And they didn't fact check her a single time. And she told one lie after another. Some of them everyone knew were lies, and they never once fact checked her. And that's messed up. It's messed up. Only women people tell you shouldn't smile so much. Only women people tell you shouldn't smile so much. What? I don't know what that means. I get from Lady Lawgic that I should smile more, which is the same thing my mother used to say to me. They say I need to smile more, believe it or not. I know, I seem very smiley on here, right? I think. Anyhow, I actually have a really genuinely funny laugh out loud clip. The funniest take on the debate that I want to share with you all, but I have to save it for a little bit later in the show, perhaps the end of the show. It's like, I was like, this is friggin' genius. Friggin' genius. I'm going to save it for the end, I think, though. So if you're watching now, like after the fact, and you want to see me like watching it with you, probably look to like the last 15 minutes of this episode. Because I'm almost certainly, I don't know, maybe I'll drop in the middle. That way, otherwise people are going to try to cheat. They're like, no, I'm jumping straight to the end. Maybe I'll drop it's like 2/3 of the way in. I got to figure out how to do it properly. I DM you a 5-minute clip on the Megyn Kelly that went viral. Should I do that? Let me see what you got here. The 5-minute clip that you DM'd me. I got a lot of people DMing me today. Message request. Yeah, Jackie. All right.
Did you watch it? I'm disgusted. I'm ashamed of those moderators at ABC News. They did exactly what their bosses wanted them to do. The person who runs ABC News is a close personal friend of Kamala Harris, that is responsible for Kamala Harris and her husband meeting. And they did Dana Walden's bidding tonight. It was 3 against 1 on that debate stage this evening. Hi, everyone. I'm Megyn Kelly, a special program tonight for you reacting to the debate. It was 3 against 1. It's very easy to look like you know what you're doing when both moderators are entirely on your side. Trump did the best he could under the circumstances, but it really was like 3 fighters in the ring pummeling one opponent. And Trump tried to take them all on. He did fine. He did as best as he could. He was thrown a few times to the point where he was unnecessarily defensive and he was getting angry. And so was I. Were you? This was a mistake to trust ABC News with this debate. The Republicans must learn from this mistake. The same way the Democrats never agree to do anything with moderators they don't entirely trust. This should be the last time the Republicans ever do this.
Yep. Yeah, I totally agree.
Because those two moderators tried to sink Donald Trump tonight. The numerous fact checks on what he said and none on what she said. None. I don't remember a single fact check of anything she said, and she lied repeatedly. She just got away with it. In the moderator's eyes, that was Donald Trump's job to fact check her.
And here's the thing also, by the way, that I saw someone point out, which I think is a great point. She seemed to know that they were going to let her lie. Some of the things that she was saying up there were such blatant lies, like the Very Fine People hoax, that even Snopes has debunked as being complete crap. And why is she not afraid she's going to get called on it? There was one moment there we're going to get to tonight where she was going one after another about like hoax, like complete crap. What are you talking about? This has nothing to do with anything that happened. And why would you do that unless you know that the moderators are never going to fact check you? And that's something they very easily could have told her. Don't worry. Say what you want. You won't be fact checked. He will be.
That's correct. Except you didn't employ that same tactic when it came to Trump. And you accused him of lying even when it was your opinion that he lied.
Yep.
When Trump...
They were wrong. I wasn't planning on going through the fact checks that they made of him. Yesterday, those who were watching me, you saw me with Cenk Uygur, where I was like, no, they're fact checking him, and they're wrong. They're factually wrong. When they fact checked him about abortion, and he said, they're letting babies, they're letting babies who come out of the womb, they're having abortions on babies after they come out of the womb. It's not technically what people call it. They don't call it an abortion. They call it They don't call it. They basically, because they don't call it they don't consider it like it's alive. That's basically it. I've gone through here on this program the law that Tim Walz himself implemented in Minnesota, whereby they changed a statute saying you must take care of you must give medical treatment to the baby to you must take care of the baby. And that was purposefully changed to say you don't need to give medical treatment to that baby. You can let that baby take care of it. Could mean just keep it warm as it starves to death. So that's a scenario where you have a botched abortion that you tried aborting the baby and induced her to eject the child from her womb, and it comes out alive. So what do you do with that? In Minnesota, you can kill it. You're not allowed to take a hammer to its skull because that's just not the way that they're going to do it. They'll just let it starve to death, which in some ways is actually somewhat more merciless.
Trump tried to say that his comment that he lost 2020 by a whisker was him being sarcastic. David Muir actually injected saying, I didn't hear sarcasm. Who gives a shit what you heard?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I heard sarcasm. You heard sarcasm. I had a poll here where 80% of you heard sarcasm. She's angry. She doesn't cuss much. She doesn't cuss much. She doesn't use that word very often.
Who died and left you political analyst in chief? You're supposed to be the objective news anchor of World News Tonight. That's a comment you make to your significant other, David, not on the debates. It didn't sound like that to me. Shut up. That is inappropriate. It's not for you to make that call. Leave it up to Kamala Harris. Leave it up to people like me who will play the soundbite and let the audience decide. But you were out of line, and they did it to him over and over and over again.
And that's what I did. I replayed it 3 times. You could hear the entire thing in context. I'm not going to pull the clip up now because, I'm not going to redo the same show. But that's what they did is they basically, in context, he said, what he actually said was, they told me if I match the same number of votes that I got in 2016, I can't lose. I can't lose. That's what they told me. I can't lose. And I got many millions more, and I lost by a whisker. I was like, that's him saying BS. I just don't want to say BS. Because how is it that he's going to win if he gets X and he gets many millions more than X and somehow loses? His point is, you do the math. I didn't really lose. And now you're telling me, like, David Muir is like, oh, I didn't hear sarcasm there. She's spot on here.
And the worst.
But like, what I did was I had a poll here, and it was like, and I was angry at Nick Fuentes, who's on the right, who was, he's crazy. He's like a lunatic on the right, and I mean, he's genuinely dark stuff. And he was chastising Trump for admitting that he lost. I was just like, how do you not hear that as sarcasm? And I'm telling you, the poll was at least 85 to 90% of you saying that when you heard it, you hear sarcasm. So
the worst piece of all of this is the obvious tactic by ABC News, which was as follows. Mr. Trump, you said something incredibly controversial and terrible. Let me remind you of what it was. Do you have any regrets or thoughts on how terrible you were? Trump answers, Vice President Harris, how bad is Trump? And then she'd answer.
That's true. As the debate went on, they did get like way more. They got more slanted as the debate went on. That's true. That's a good call that I didn't call out last night. And I'm glad she did call that out.
It happened over and over again. That was the format. Mr. Trump, you're a piece of shit. Kamala Harris, isn't he a shit? Thank you. It was incredible. And then anything Trump said, fact check, fact check, fact check. And their fact checks were full of shit. I'm swearing even more than normal right now because I'm mad. I'm angry. I'm angry at them, at ABC, at my industry that I want nothing to do with. And I've never been happier to be outside and be able to say how I truly feel. And yes, even with some colorful words, because that's what the situation calls for. They're trying to steal this election.
That's true.
They're openly working to sink him.
Yep. Good clip. Great clip. Thank you. She's correct. She is correct. Thank you, Jackie, for sharing that with me. Jackie Chan. All right. Why they were unfair when they asked the question Trump, they would say, Kamala said, they made Kamala's arguments. They were arguments for her. Fair. I disagree. I want my president to be willing to show up in any scenario because I expect the POTUS may face opposing views in dealing with other countries. You're correct in that. It would have been totally fine if they did the same thing to Kamala. And there was no way in hell they were going to do that to Kamala. That's the problem. That's the problem. They weren't willing to test her out as to, like, how would you handle this type of grilling? That'd be totally fine. If you want to be a jerk of a moderator to both sides, you want to be very aggressive on both sides, that's fine. And the point to, the moderator is playing umpire, essentially. They're asking questions, but they're somewhat playing umpire. The best umpires, you don't know they're there. You don't even notice them. The best referees, you don't know, they don't insert themselves into the game. But the point is, and everyone says, your strike zone, it can be really big strike zone, or it can be very small strike zone. But you got to have the same strike zone for both sides. That's what makes you a fair ump. One candidate did well last night while the other acted out a stage play. And she was acting. I understand what you're saying. But, that he did well. The question is, did people see it that way? I'll tell you this much. A lot of people feel like he lost the debate. here's the thing. CNN, I don't know if I pulled this up here. CNN. I meant to pull this up and I didn't. What's the main issue to every American? The main issue. It's really not even like it's not even close. The main issue to every American is the economy. Even more than borders. Borders are so bad, so terrible that they become an issue. You know, in general, it's like, okay, that's not something I really am crazy about, but usually that's like, 3 or 4 on the list. It surged to number 1 because it's been that terrible under border czar Kamala Harris. However, the number 1 issue is the economy, because that's the thing, trans stuff, you don't have to dealing with that on a day-by-day basis. Most people are not dealing with that. They're like, I don't care. Do I think it might be stupid? Yeah, I don't care. I don't care that much. I'd rather be focusing on whatever it is that, I enjoy doing, and I don't, they're doing their thing. Who cares? You talk about the war in Ukraine, I don't care. This is what your independents are feeling. That's the only way you could be an independent, is if you don't care about a lot of issues. What does everyone care about? Can I pay my bills? Is it harder for me to pay my bills? Is it impossible for me to pay my bills? Those are things everyone cares about. And that's why we've said over and over and over again, the success in an election invariably comes down to the economy. Always. So you want to say that he lost the debates? The Democrats want to scream, he lost. Oh my God, here she comes. She's surging. She's surging. I'll tell you, hold on a second there. You think she won? You think she won? All right, look at this. Who would better handle the economy? Before the debate, CNN says, their poll shows, before the debate, 37% saying Kamala, 53% saying Donald Trump. After the debate, only 35% say Kamala and 55% say Trump. The main issue in the debate. Who won on that issue in the debate, according to a poll from CNN? That's the win. That's the win. Because at the end of the day, that's what people care about. That's all people care about. Is, can I pay my bills? And that's why I said, I was talking to Lady Lawgic about it this morning. She was giving me some of her thoughts about the debate and how she was frustrated with some of the moderation and the questions and the tone, and how she successfully baited him from time to time. And everything she was saying was spot on. Everything she was saying was spot on. I think that one of the things I like about bouncing ideas off of her is that she basically gives me she gives me the intelligent perspective of someone who's, this is not their life, but sort of following around on it and knows what's going on. And I sort of look at that as like the everyday person, at least the everyday person I would spend more than 10 minutes interacting with, which maybe that's not the everyday person, to be fair. But the point is that, that's her take on it. But the number 1 issue at the end of the day is always the economy. It is, because it's like you're thinking about it now. And this is what I told her this morning. Yeah, today is the day. It's the morning after. You'll be thinking about it now. You'll be thinking about it a week from now, maybe even 2 weeks from now. You're not thinking about this debate 3 weeks from now. No one's remembering the fact that he got shot 6 weeks ago. No one's even thinking about this. And we're 8 weeks from the election. So you're not remembering. People can barely remember that the president of the United States got shot in the head 6 weeks ago. You're going to be remembering this thing or that thing? No. What you're remembering is she sucks at the economy. And in October, you're going to be paying bills. Everyone's paying bills. Every month, every week you pay bills. Certainly every month you're paying bills. A month from now, after you had to pay another round of bills, you're thinking about your wallet. Now, could there be some sort of October surprise, late September surprise, early October surprise, which could help tilt things in her favor? Yeah. But you want to look back at this debate. What we look back at this debate is, before the debate, 37% thought that she's better at the economy. After the debate, 35%. She lost 2 points on the main issue. That's a win. That's a win. And all the good vibes or bad vibes, or he's angry, or whatever. I don't like his tone. But then people are like, I gotta feed my kid. I gotta pay my landlord. I gotta eat next week. You just sent the Massey speech. I don't know if I'll have time to get to it. I appreciate that. Thank you, Aaron. MK showed vid of West Virginia governor describing the baby death. Oh, Megyn Kelly? Kamala could never, and that's the point to me. Yeah. The Fox Climate Real-Time Review was interesting, showing Independent went with Republicans on crime, economic, and immigration. Post a video on locals. I actually have it here already. I actually have it queued up to that. Many of you have heard me yell about how I never want to watch a Fox video again, but I agree with you that this real-time is actually very cool to watch. It's a very cool to watch, and this is a good place for me to insert it here because, and thank you for reminding me about that, Halligan, because this is watching independents track with Republicans on that main issue, the economy, at the very beginning of the debate. See,
was whether or not she'd ever met Putin. She dodged that ball like third grade. I had not seen anything quite like that, and she did not answer the question. So I think it was right about that she had. Let's get right to it now. We are going to play clips from last night's debate. Lee has showed them to a group of voters who responded in real time using handheld dials. And you can watch their feelings second by second. And the red line represents Republicans, the blue Democrats, and the yellow independents. We'll begin with the issue that polls overwhelmingly show is voters' top concern, the economy. Let's watch together.
So Donald Trump has no plan for you.
This is people tracking. So we're watching 3 lines here. Blue line is Democrats, red line is Republicans, yellow is independents, how they feel about what the candidate is saying when they're talking about the economy. Watch their feelings on this.
And when you look at his economic plan, it's all about tax breaks for the richest people. I am offering what I describe as an opportunity economy, and the best economists in our country, if not the world, have reviewed our relative plans for the future of America. What Goldman Sachs has said is that Donald Trump's plan would make the economy worse. Mine would strengthen the economy. What the Wharton School has said is Donald Trump's plan would actually explode the deficit. 16 Nobel laureates have described his economic plan as something that would increase inflation and by the middle of next year would invite a recession.
It's a great plan. It's a plan that's going to bring up our worth, our value as a country. It's going to make people want to be able to go and work and create jobs and create a lot of good, solid money for our country. And just to finish off, she doesn't have a plan. She copied Biden's plan, and it's like 4 sentences, like run, spot, run. 4 sentences that are just, we'll try and lower taxes. She doesn't have a plan. They had the highest inflation perhaps in the history of our country, because I've never seen a worse period of time. People can't go out and buy cereal or bacon or eggs or anything else. The people of our country are absolutely dying with what they've done. They've destroyed the economy.
Now, this is an interesting.
One of the things I noticed right away there, Lee, is that the blue line started to flatten and not dip so low down on that last one. He gets where people are.
He gets where people are in the economy. And that was a really interesting takeaway for me last night. I didn't expect.
I had the exact same takeaway. My first thought is like, wow, that blue line isn't dropping anymore. Blue line ain't going down
to
nowhere.
See independents tracking so much with Republicans last night.
And they here at this point.
Create jobs and create a lot of good, solid money for our country. And just to finish off, she doesn't have a plan. She copied Biden's plan, and it's like 4 sentences, like run, spot, run. 4 sentences that are just, we'll try and lower taxes. She doesn't have a plan. They had the highest inflation perhaps in the history of our country, because I've never seen a worse period of time. People can't go out and buy cereal or bacon or eggs or anything else.
Look at that flat line.
The people of our country are absolutely dying with what they've done. They've destroyed the economy.
Well, one of the things I noticed right away there, Lee, is that
the Democrats recognize they destroyed the economy. An historic administration. It's historic. All right. With that, let's get in and start watching the debate. I'm going to focus exclusively on Kamala talking. Exclusively on Kamala, and I'm going to be fact-checking her item by item, step by step here, and we're going to go on through, and I'm going to bust out all the times that she's full of crap. All the times that she's full of crap. So, with that, let me get this. Remember Goldman Sachs bought 2008? Yeah, they did. Yeah. The independent tracking with Trump. Yeah, that also was that's the part that's very encouraging. Independents get it. If you're not crazy biased, you get it. And even those who are crazy biased are kind of, yeah, the economy sucks. The economy is really bad. The economy is really terrible. All right. We're going to watch CNN.
Donald Trump, their first face-to-face meeting in this presidential election, their first face-to-face meeting ever.
A historic race for president upended just weeks ago. President Biden withdrawn.
Okay.
Started. I want to begin tonight with the issue that voters repeatedly say is their number one issue, and that is the economy and the cost of living in this country. Vice President Harris, you and President Trump were elected 4 years ago, and your opponent on the stage here tonight often asks his supporters, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? When it comes to the economy, do you believe Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago?
She's not going to answer that question. She's just going to lie instead.
Was raised as a middle-class kid.
Lie. First sentence out of her mouth is a lie. She was not raised as a middle-class kid. Actually, her father was a professor. Her mother was a surgeon. Her father was a professor in Stanford. A Marxist professor in Stanford. So, no, you didn't grow up as a middle-class kid. You're a Marxist professor in Stanford that she grew up as. No, you were middle class, and your mother was her mother was what was her mother? Let me a biomedical scientist at UC Berkeley. Yeah, you were not like some middle class, like, oh yeah, my parents were, laborers. So yeah, that's not, maybe she weren't uber wealthy, but the first sentence out of her mouth was a lie.
And I am actually the only person on this stage who has a plan that is about lifting up the middle class and working people of America.
That's not true either. It won't. There's no way to explain how it's going to do that, but go ahead.
I believe in the ambition, the aspirations, the dreams of the American people. And that is why I imagine and have actually a plan to build what I call an opportunity economy. Because here's the thing. We know that we have a shortage of homes and housing, and the cost of housing is too expensive for far too many people. We know that young families need support to raise their children, and I intend on extending a tax cut for those families of $6,000, which is the largest child tax credit that we have given in a long time, so that those young families can afford to buy a crib, buy a car seat, buy clothes for their children.
Since our economy broke you, we'll subsidize you. My economy broke you, now I'll subsidize you. How about just not breaking us? I don't know.
Passion, one of them is small businesses. My mother raised my sister and me, but there was a woman who helped.
I understand you don't care how they detract and then they don't win races. At the end of the day, though, it's reflective of just how deeply that sentiment is held. That's the point.
Raise us. We call her our second mother. She was a small business owner. I love our small businesses. My plan is to give a $50,000 tax deduction to start up small businesses, knowing they are part of the backbone of America's economy.
I don't even know what that means. I'm sure it's going to be DEI related, though.
My opponent, on the other hand, his plan is to do what he has done before, which is to
swallow.
provide a tax cut for billionaires and big corporations, which will result in $5 trillion to America's deficit. My opponent has a plan that
That's actually, so that's the next lie right there. If you pull up this data over here from the IRS data proves that tax cuts benefited middle working class Americans the most. So no. It did not. It was not a tax cut for the rich. The people who benefited the most. Did the rich benefit also? Yeah. Who benefited the most? The middle and working class. So next, that's her second lie. First was that she grew up middle class. Second was that his tax cuts were tax cuts for the rich, straight from Hillary Clinton.
called the Trump's sales tax, which would be a 20% tax on everyday goods that you rely on.
I think she's going to invent capitalism, is what she means by an opportunity economy. Because in the past, she's gone on record as saying equal opportunity means some people are starting behind you and they need an added lift, meaning socialism.
To get through the month. Economists have said that Trump sales tax would actually result for middle-class families in about $4,000 more a year because of his policies and his ideas about what should be the backs of middle-class people.
He hasn't promised a sales tax. That's complete crap. He's never said he's gonna have a sales tax. She's talking about a sales tax, which is actually a reference to that many people, I think, properly assess that if you jack up tariffs, that has to increase the cost of price. That's not a tax. It's not an added tax. That it could have an impact on the cost of goods that you're purchasing. So if goods are manufactured, if your iPhone is being made in China, instead of paying $800 for it, if there's a 20% tax, you'll end up paying $900 for it realistically. That's what it means.
Paying for tax cuts for billionaires.
President Trump, I'll give you 2 minutes.
First of all, I have no sales tax. That's an incorrect statement. She knows that. We're doing tariffs on other countries. Other countries are going to finally, after 75 years, pay us back for all that we've done for the world. And the tariff will be...
I'm supposed to skip him, right? It's for illegal immigrants so they can open businesses here. Lily, hold on a second. I just want to... I need to blow the horn here. Happy anniversary. 2 years, Lily Smith. 2 years, you and me, kid. 2 years. Happy anniversary. And it probably is for illegal immigrants so they can open businesses because she loves small illegal businesses. Opportunity economy equals carrion feeder. No doubt. Another lie, she called tariffs a sales tax. Yeah. All right, let's get to the next section for her here. Not when she looks like she's like smelling eggs or something like that.
Even better.
We are going to get to immigration and border security during this debate, but I would like to let Vice President Harris respond on the economy here.
Well, I would love to. Let's talk about what Donald Trump left us. Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment since the Great Depression. Donald Trump left us the worst public health. That's not true. By the time she came in, by the time January 2021 came around, it was not the worst economy since the Great Depression. It was actually surging at that point already and had been for 3 months. Epidemic in a century. Donald Trump left us the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. Lie. That's a complete lie. By almost any yardstick you can use. First of all, it's not an attack on our democracy. Because to be an attack on democracy, it has to threaten democracy. And there was never any sort of threat that they were going to be taking over the country. No one came in there with guns. What are they going to do? They're going to basically they're going to use zip ties to take over the country all of a sudden.
Oh my God, we're all held hostage for the last 4 years from those guys with zip ties in the Capitol. I mean, come on. What the hell are you talking about? It's not attacking democracy. That's first and foremost. Second of all, you're saying this on the eve of 9/11, that's a worse attack than 9/11? Really? 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 And those of you who are old enough to remember 9/11, and I guess those of you perhaps who maybe not are, I hope that you're able to spend today as a day, at least take a moment today. In fact, I think it's good for us all to take a moment, which we're going to do now, to remember those who were lost. And maybe even a silent prayer. All right. Yeah. So coming back to what she was talking about there, I'm just going to say it's pretty offensive. It's an offensive statement. I know you want to try and trumpet and everything, but it's just garbage.
And what we have done is clean up Donald Trump's mess. What we have done and what I intend to do is build on what we know are the aspirations and the hopes of the American people. But I'm going to tell you all in this debate tonight, you're going to hear from the same old tired playbook, a bunch of lies, grievances, and name calling. What you're going to hear tonight is a detailed and dangerous plan called Project 2025.
Nope. You know that he's over and over again said that he's got nothing to do with Project 2025 and hasn't read it. And yet you're sitting here telling these ridiculous lies that it's got like his signature on it. I do think he should have mentioned Agenda 47, which he doesn't mention at all. But that's a flat out lie. So, yeah, that's garbage.
That the former president intends on implementing if he were elected again. I believe very strongly that the American people want.
Which, by the way, no one has ever said what's so objectionable about Project 2025. I've gone through, from what I've gone through of it, it's hard to figure out what makes it such a boogeyman, other than the fact that it sounds like something scary.
More in common than what separates us. And I pledge to you to be a president for all Americans.
President Trump will give you a minute here to respond.
All right. Let's move forward.
That created them. They know it, and so does everybody else.
Vice President Harris, I'll let you respond.
So Donald Trump has no plan for you. And when you look at his economic plan, it's all about tax breaks for the richest people.
Ray pointed out that's a lie. And if they were going to point out her lies, that's a flat out lie.
I am offering what I describe as an opportunity economy. And the best economists in our country, if not the world, have reviewed our relative plans for the future of America. What Goldman Sachs has said is that Donald Trump's plan would make the economy worse. Mine would strengthen the economy.
Yeah, you wish it's worse. That's citing. That's a foul. That's actually, this is more of a logical fallacy of appeal to authority. I can't tell you why it's worse, but let's just appeal to the authority, and that these authorities that I want to cite to you, they're telling you it's worse. I can't explain to you. I don't know how it's worse. I don't know how it's better or worse, but I can find some experts who are going to tell you that they think that this is not going to go as well. That's appeal to authority fallacy. And you're correct that well, I'm not sure about the transfer pricing and the Jobs Act of 17. Tariffs and international taxes are balanced out. I do need to look at that. I need to familiarize myself with that. I'm going to claim ignorance on that. I'm comfortable pleading ignorance. Perhaps you're correct. It's tricky for me to figure out how they would do that, but I'll try looking into it because now I'm curious. We cleaned up this mess and gave you inflation 20 to 75%. You're welcome. Yeah. And it wasn't even a mess when they came in.
What the Wharton School has said is Donald Trump's plan would actually explode the deficit. 16 Nobel laureates have described his economic plan as something that would increase inflation and by the middle of next year would invite a recession.
That's like I said, that's an appeal to fallacy. That's a logical fallacy of appeal to authority.
You just have to look at where we are and where we stand on the issues. And I'd invite you to know that Donald Trump actually has no plan for you, because he is more interested in defending himself than he is in looking out for you.
He has to defend himself because you keep charging him with crimes that are bogus and ridiculous. So let's move along here. We're going to get to abortion now.
Administration did keep a number of the Trump tariffs in place. So how do you respond?
Oh,
well, let's be clear that the Trump administration resulted in a trade deficit, one of the highest we've ever seen in the history of America. He invited trade wars. You want to talk about his deal with China? What he ended up doing is, under Donald Trump's presidency, he ended up selling American chips to China.
That's not true, and he debunks that.
To help them improve and modernize their military, basically sold us out, when a policy about China should...
If he had done that, don't you think you would have heard that over and over again? He gave our military secrets to China!
...be in making sure the United States of America wins the competition for the 21st century.
I don't know what the hell she's talking about here. And Trump is like, I don't know what she's talking about either. Everyone knows we're not making chips anymore. They're all made in Taiwan. That's the only reason anyone cares about Taiwan anymore.
Which means focusing on the details of what that requires, focusing on relationships with our allies, focusing on investing in American-based technology so that we win the race on AI, on quantum computing.
That's all right. Like I said, I don't profess to be an expert in everything. And if you mention something that I'm unaware of, it's very possible. Look, I understand. I have a very big blessing here, which is also an albatross. And the blessing is that I get to talk to thousands of people at once, and that's a phenomenal blessing from God that I have no idea how I merited that. And that's also an albatross, because on virtually any topic I discuss, there's gonna be someone out there who's more of an expert in a particular area that I'm touching in. So if someone points something out to me and says, Joe, you're mistaken about this, all right, that's very possible. I'd rather learn than mislead anyone. I just want to get to the truth of things. So perhaps you're right. I do need to look more into it. If you can send me a DM explaining to me, what parts of the Jobs Act, because I'm sure the Jobs Act is pretty wordy, and when you're talking about transfer pricing, I don't know how you transfer that pricing to balance out for the added cost of the tariffs. And if it's effective, I'm not sure how the tariffs are being effective. I guess they're paying. I thought the whole point to a tariff is that you're making it more expensive for the good to be sold here. I understand you can use tariffs to punish a foreign country. I get that. But it also enables your locals, your domestic work to compete. If a foreign country can create product, can sell beer, right? They can sell a beer for 40 cents. And over here, it costs 60 cents to make that same beer. And then ship it over here. And with shipping, it costs them 40 cents to send it here. And it costs us 60 to make it. You impose a tariff of them of 20 cents. Now the public is paying 60 cents for all beer. And you sort of, so you sort of use that to help your production keep up with foreign production. Now, as a general principle, I happen to be very much against tariffs, because I think that it's healthier to have full competition, fair competition, and you're hurting the public to benefit the large number of people in public who are consuming the beer and now have to pay 60 cents instead of 40 that they otherwise would pay. So maybe you could say, well, a lot of people paying 60 cents anyway because they're buying American beer. And obviously, I was talking about cost of production, and then you have to actually jack up marketing, sales, bar costs, and by the time you actually get it at your local Walmart or liquor store, it's costing you $1.15. So I was really just talking about the price of, the cost of production when I was coming in at 40 cents. I'm not living in 1923. Okay, I understand that beer doesn't cost 40 cents. My point is that the production costs, and then there's the along the lines of distribution ends up costing more. But yeah, anyway, I don't want to get too bogged down on this one issue. I appreciate you sharing that with me, though. Joe, CNN said the chips was true. Well, I would never want to argue with CNN. They're obviously a bastion of integrity. Riding out a hurricane in LA, thanks electricity so I can tune into the leader. Ah, that's very thoughtful. Who's the leader? I'm very much not the leader. I don't know what you're talking about there. She always sounds like she's trying not to vomit. That's true. Jobs Act is 13.125%. If you manufacture in the U.S., credits get them there. TP is a transfer. So you is a country that are tax havens. Right, this is really getting into the weeds a little bit here. It's definitely not a tax, the way she calls it. She wants to call it tax because that makes it sound like, oh my God, he's dipping into my pocket. And I think it's the same way we can call the economy a tax, which you can. You can call tariffs a tax, even though it's not. They're both not taxes per se. Tariffs were a traditional way Fed would get paid before income tax. I would welcome back to remove income tax. Yeah, well, take that trade every day and 3 times on Tuesday.
Computing, focusing on what we need to do to support America's workforce so that we don't end up having on the short end of the stick in terms of workers' rights. But what Donald Trump did, let's talk about this, with COVID, is he actually...
Real Patriots Party says, another gift, Joe. Here's the entire law skit from 2004, Trump's House of Wings. 4 minutes is for everyone, and it's hilarious, so enjoy. RPP, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. I'm not showing it. I'm not showing it. I can't show it. Okay? I wrote a whole long thing. Yesterday, Drop Barracuda shared with me a great skit, Shane Gillis. Great skit that I was like, I think I can get this one through. And it's 4.5 minute clip that I showed in a 6-hour video. And the entire video got copyright blocked because of it. Now, I don't blame him at all. There's no way Barracuda would know that that's going to happen. And in fact, he was trying to find me a copy that would likely get past the censors. It didn't. And I know SNL is impossible. They are relentless, aggressive, crazy. So is Comedy Central, and so are most stand-up comedians. In fact, I actually was walking him through because he and you and several others do a great job of sharing with me some phenomenal clips. There's like a few dozen of you who share with me some phenomenal clips, and I don't even mind. It's not a matter that I'm losing revenue from it. I lose what I lose on that from a few hours of it being blocked is not that big a deal. It's like $10, $20 that I lose in 3 hours of people not being able to watch. It's not something that I'm thank God. It's not amounts of money that I'm going to be crying about or even notice if it happens. What you all need to understand, though, is that when I finish a show, I have to wait like 20 minutes for things to process, 30 minutes for it to process. Then I have to go in and actually spot advertisements once it's finished processing to make them evenly distributed and not clumped together where all of a sudden people who are watching, when it's put in automatically by YouTube and I look in there, I'll see sometimes in a span of 4 minutes there'll be 6 advertisements, and then it'll go like an hour and a half with 0 advertisements, and then there'll be a 10-minute stretch with another 3 advertisements. So what I like to do is I like to actually go through and space them out so that those people who are not paying members of YouTube and are getting ads are going to have them a little bit more evenly distributed. And I found that works a lot better. But if there's a copyright block on it, so first I have to notice there's a copyright block, which I usually don't notice for the first hour or two. And then I have to trim and edit it out. They won't let me they won't let me slot my ads until I get rid of that copyright block. And I can dispute it. And if I dispute it, I can wait 3 days, which that's stupid. Or I could just take out the 5-minute segment. But then YouTube will spend 20 minutes to an hour processing that change, and they'll take it out. I'll say, okay, take out from this block of time to that, from this period of time to that period of time, take that out. And so then I got to wait like another hour. And then after that hour, so now I'm like 4 hours after the show. It's like 4 o'clock in the morning. And I'm sitting here like just going through and trying to like, to spot my advertisements. And it just like, I was like, it's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. It's not. So, I mean, I guess it adds up a little bit if like night after night I would keep getting those copyright blocks, which fortunately I've learned enough about my trade to know what's likely to get blocked and what's not. What I do know is that those will get blocked. Those are going to get blocked. And it's just too much of a hassle. Breck Nichols says, Joe, it's high time that we reimagine reality. We need to have that conversation or something. No. Reality in quotes. Reimagine reality. So you sound like you're an expert in in recreational drugs, Breck. When you're reimagining reality, I'm sure you know far better than I do. That's my gut. That's my gut says. I could be wrong, but that's my gut says. I don't know. That's just my first thought as far as how I interpret that. When tariffs encouraged by American made? No, that's why traditionally they were implemented. Trump used them to try and help you buy American. But you have to realize, okay, it's getting you to buy American, which means that Americans are paying more money. Why are you buying American? You would be buying the cheapest thing that's comparable, but now you can't buy it as cheaply, you the consumer, because the price on it has been jacked up by the tariff. So yeah, it's helping protect the American company, but it's harming the American consumer. Instead of forcing the American company to make it more cheaply or do something else. Now, a lot of people say it's fair to do that when you're dealing with China per se, let's say, because they have child slave labor there. So they're able to get away with charging less money because they basically, they're able to, basically get labor for practically free. And over here, we got minimum wage. So how can an American producer over here compete with slave labor in China on a product that it's labor intensive? It's impossible. So you can say there's a morality argument to it and saying, hey, I want to basically discourage people from using the slave labor from China because it's cheaper and basically make sure it's not cheaper and encourage them to buy American on a moral basis, in order to help protect those Chinese slave laborers, because then they're not going to need Chinese slave laborers if they're not making money from it. So that's a fair philosophical argument to be making. But the point is, it's jacking up the price that either way you slice it, any way you slice it, the consumer's paying more. And in the same way we talk about inflation being a tax on the poor and on the middle class, so too tariffs. I don't. If you're being intellectually honest, tariffs end up being a tax. It's just not technically appropriate to refer to it as a sales tax, because it's not an accurate thing. Sales tax implies everything's going to have a sales tax, no matter what you're buying, whether it's milk, or it could be a new carburetor, it could be clothing. There's going to be a sales tax. That's what a sales tax implies, and that's why it's purposefully disingenuous and misleading in order to get the public to think, oh yeah, oh my gosh, he's going to jack up federal sales tax. He's going to throw a federal sales tax and everything, then and make us pay an extra 10% for everything. Which is crap. Not true. That's why she didn't say tariffs. She said he wants to implement a sales tax. That's garbage. That's a complete lie. This is why Republicans lose. Democrats spread lies on national TV to all voters. Republicans refute the lies on conservative channels that only. So what are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to do? Do you have if you have a suggestion, you want to give me a national platform? Look, I should have a national megaphone. I understand that. You understand that. Get working on it. Get moving. Which I tell you, I should be syndicated. What should I tell you? I don't know what to do about that. I'm doing my best. I know he's not the greatest debater. However, he's done better before. Do you think it's possible he's sandbagging to get a second debate? Why would he want to sandbag to get a second debate? I don't understand that. Why not just crush her on the first one? Someone else asked me that question yesterday. I don't understand the question even. So the non-slave economy is not sustainable. Thomas Jefferson, when he wrote Declaration of Independence, purportedly, they say, that he initially sought to abolish slavery. He's questioned on this, saying, you're a slave owner yourself. He said, I plan to release my slaves. As far as I understand history, he did release them upon his own death. When in releasing his slaves, so now he's trying to produce products and competing with other Southerners who were engaging in that evil practice, and it's economic suicide. I mean, look, there's a reason why people use slaves, and as evil and disgusting as the practice is, as immoral as the practice has been, there is a financial incentive to it. That's why they do it. That's why you do it. People are not doing it. Most slave owners, as far as I understand, we're not motivated by a bloodthirst for barbarism. It's that it was financially beneficial. So now, if Thomas Jefferson would have chosen, and I guess he did drop this on his offspring by freeing his slaves, to his credit, but it's financial ruination to say, yeah, I'm going to have to jack up the price of my stuff because I'm going to have to pay my laborers and you're not. So obviously what I'm producing is going to cost more. Or I'm going to have much smaller margins that's going to offset the difference in what I pay. Whatever I'm paying my laborers is eating out of my margins. And ultimately, that's financial ruin compared to someone has less honor. So the weekly locals only clip stream sounds like the answer to me. We get the comedy. YouTube has zero say. That's true. I try to do I do a weekly YouTube. I do a weekly locals, as you're aware, Ann. So won't work. China subsidizes their companies to take markets, so we can't build cheaper when they sell for less than the material cost. That's possibly true. There's conceptually a thing that much like supermarkets will have a loss leader, that they'll sell something below their own cost in order to get people in the store. It's possible that China does the same thing. I don't know enough about their economic practices to weigh in on that. I wouldn't be surprised. RP says, Joe, they have the link to the video in my rant. You don't have to play it. Chill, Boomer. Here's your other time. I was chilled. I appreciate you sharing it with me. What he's referencing, what he shared with me, was when Trump was on SNL, that he had a thing that he was starting a new a new chain of chicken restaurants, and they were singing Trump to the tune of Jump with a bunch of chickens dancing around. It's pretty funny. So I showed a 5-second clip and he found the 4-minute clip, which I definitely plan on watching. I'll watch it with you guys on Locals, so you guys will be able to enjoy it tomorrow. O'Leary was on Fox with Shannon Bream explaining how the tariffs would work and how it will benefit America. Okay. I'm not saying it couldn't benefit America. It could. Definitely could. As a general rule, I'm not a fan. All right, let's get back into the exposing Kamala's lies. Exposing the liar.
Thanked President Xi for what he did during COVID. Look at his tweet. Thank you, President Xi, exclamation point, when we know that Xi was responsible for lacking and not giving us transparency about the
Yeah, you know that now, but he thanked him long before they knew that.
origins of COVID.
And he puts that out. He responds to that. So another lie from Kamala Harris. We're searching through here to get to Kamala's next answer. I think we got to be at Roe v. Wade by now, right? But we got to be at the abortion topic.
President, want to get your response to President Trump.
Well, as I said, you're going to hear a bunch of lies, and that's not actually a surprising fact. Let's understand how we got here. Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. And they did exactly as he intended.
Swallow. You can even hear her lips smacking, like this weird dry mouth thing she's got going on there. Just listen to her. God, sounds terrible.
Do the protections of Roe v. Wade. And they did exactly as he intended. And now in over 20 states, there are Trump abortion bans, which make it criminal for a doctor or nurse to provide health care. In one state, it provides prison for life.
That's not true. Well, hold on.
Trump abortion bans that make no exception even for rape and incest, which understand what that means. A survivor of a crime of violation to their body does not have the right to make a decision about what happens to their body next. That is immoral. And one does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree. The government, and Donald Trump certainly, should not be telling a woman what to do with her body. We're
the only ones that should have right to tell people what to do with their bodies. I'm the only one who should be able to do that, right? You're the one who passed a law telling hundreds of millions, helped pass laws that told hundreds of millions of all Americans, of men and women, what they're allowed to do with their bodies. Sick, disgusting. So let's let her finish her little abortion idiocy, and then we'll go through the lies.
Talked with women around our country. You want to talk about this is what people wanted? Pregnant women who want to carry a pregnancy to term, suffering from a miscarriage, being denied care in an emergency room because the healthcare.
Nope, that's not the case. No such thing. No such thing. In cases of emergency, no state has it as a crime. Just not true. Just not true. She's trying to paint some sort of dire, crazy circumstance that it's like, no, Trump isn't letting me do an abortion to save your life. Just not true. Every state in the country has an exception to abortion when it's an emergency situation designed to protect the life of the mother. Every single one of them, zero criminalization. It's just a complete flat out lie. Total flat out lie.
Providers are afraid they might go to jail, and she's bleeding out in a car in the parking lot. She didn't want that. Her husband didn't want that.
Who the hell wants that? That's ridiculous. Nobody, it's like the stupidest thing in the world.
A 12 or 13-year-old survivor of incest being forced to carry a pregnancy to term? They don't want that.
What are you talking about?
And I pledge to you,
first of all, I don't understand what that means even, because why wouldn't they be able to take the Plan B if you're talking about someone who's physically attacked and becomes pregnant as a result of that attack? Why are they forced to go to term?
Congress passes a bill to put back in place the protections of Roe v. Wade. As President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law. But understand, if Donald Trump were to be reelected, he will sign a national abortion ban. Understand.
So hold on. This part I want to get very technical. I want to get very distinct with you, what she just said there. What is she promising to sign here? Because she actually takes two different stances if you listen closely to what she says. And they're not the same. And she contradicts herself. No one calls her on it because, well, these moderators weren't going to call her on anything.
And I pledge to you, When Congress passes a bill to put back in place the protections of Roe v. Wade, as President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law. But
their bill is the Women's Health Protection Act. That's what she's referencing here. It was Women's Health Protection Act of 2021. It's this thing, right? It's this abortion of a bill, and I use that phrase in every possible way of using the term abortion. An abortion of a bill which enables a woman to get an abortion through all 9 months of pregnancy. So that's what she's saying, that when they bring it back, that's what she's promises to sign it, which will never pass, but that's what she's promising to sign. And understand, a bill like this would require 60 senators. Like, good luck. This is why it's such a stupid topic. When are you going to get 60 senators on either side of the aisle? So that would codify abortion all the way through the 9th month. This is in contrast to Roe v. Wade. Roe v. Wade does not allow you to have an abortion in the third trimester. So on the one hand, she starts explaining like what she pledges to sign. The other, she's saying that she wants Roe v. Wade. But those two are not in agreement with each other. Are you allowing abortion in the last trimester? Yes or no? It's very simple. She never answers that question. We'll see throughout all of her speaking points on abortion, she never answers that question. She doesn't want to answer that question because she wants to allow abortions all the way through the 9th month. Instead, she makes this very veiled reference to a bill which allows for it, and then just throws out Roe v. Wade, give us back Roe v. Wade, which is ridiculous because she's asking for much more than what Roe v. Wade gave.
But understand, if Donald Trump were to be reelected, he will sign a national abortion ban. Understand, in his Project 2025, there would be a national abortion, a monitor that would be monitoring your pregnancies, your miscarriages. I think the American people.
What are you talking about? What monitor? You just completely made that up. Ridiculous. There's no monitor.
People believe that certain freedoms, in particular, the freedom to make decisions about one's own body, should not be made by the government.
This is like him saying she wants to pass a law that says that all men should be forced to get castrated once they reach the age of 30 years old. Can you believe the audacity of this woman? I don't believe that we should allow the government to come in there and put their hands all over men's genitalia. I mean, and it's like, what? When did she come up with that? What? It doesn't make any sense. What are you talking about? She wants to pass a law that says that everyone who's born into a house that has over the medium, has an income of over $100,000 a year should be forced to cut off the ring finger of their second child. And I'm someone who says we shouldn't be going after babies. Why do you want to take off the fingers of babies? It doesn't make any sense to me. I personally believe that every baby born, every single one of them should be able to keep all 10 fingers. And I think it's outrageous. It's outrageous that we should be forced that she wants to send people in to start slicing off those ring fingers of those poor second children. Look at how they're going to get mocked by their older siblings. It's going to be terrible. All the older siblings are going to be like, I have 10 fingers, you have 9. It's terrible. We should stand up for the freedom of all children and not to be abusing children by cutting off their fingers. That's what's the American. It's the American way. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? There's a stupid little bobblehead going on there. Like, do you believe it now? You believe what I'm saying now? You should, because my head's shaking up and down. When my head's shaking up and down, I'm telling you, that it's really serious now. She's a crackpot. Take notice when they ask her if she's ever met Putin, she avoids the question completely and instead replies with, yeah, I met Zelensky. Yeah, I know. This is why you put tariffs on China to stop subsidize. Okay. Moderators conveniently admitted to remember she stated publicly on COVID that if Trump administration developed vaccines, she wouldn't recommend to use it. this comes up. I saw the clip of her saying it. Her actual words. I want to. The wording she uses is. I'm not positive. As I recall, she says, "I wouldn't take it on his say so." Which is pretty stupid, because where do you ever have a president rolling out a drug that says, I'm the only one who's saying to take this? I invented this. I made this in my kitchen. where would that come from? I wouldn't do it on his say so. Such a stupid, empty answer. She was trying hard to make it Trump abortion bans. Very, very hard. And she was struggling with it. She does not want Roe v. Wade but Casey. Oh, I understand that. Roe v. Wade has been dead, has been dead since before she was hanging out with Montel. Ah, boy, again, Joe. Just kidding. No HMO, LOL.
Thank you, Vice President Harris.
Well, there she goes again. It's a lie.
It's true. It is a lie. All right. Moving through here. She's going to come back now with more lies about abortion. I'm not done on the abortion topic.
You have a vote of the people on abortion.
Vice President Harris, want to give you your time to respond, but I do want to ask, would you support any restrictions on a woman's right to an abortion?
I absolutely
will not answer your question.
support reinstating the protections of Roe v. Wade.
That's not what you said 5 minutes ago. 5 minutes ago, you were saying, I want to sign that bill that was brought up before Congress, which is the Women's Health Protection Act, which is not Roe v. Wade. She's not answering that question. But now this answer is different if you actually understand what the law is and what the law in Roe v. Wade was and what the Women's Health Protection Act was and how they're disparate. So now she's saying something completely different. No one knows what the hell her purported position is, because she doesn't answer the question.
And as you rightly mentioned, nowhere in America is a woman carrying a pregnancy to term and in asking for an abortion.
That's not true. You're able to get it in Tim Walz's state of Minnesota. I think he called out. I don't remember if he called out Tim Walz. I think he did. They called out Tim Walz that, hey, this is the guy. This is the guy who's allowing it. I want to see if he did. I think he did. We're going to go through his answer because I want to hear.
Signing a ban, and there's no reason to sign a ban because we've gotten what everybody wanted. Democrats, Republicans, and everybody else, and every legal scholar wanted it to be brought back into the states, and the states are voting. And it may take a little time, but for 52 years, this issue has torn our country apart, and they've wanted it back in the states. And I did something that nobody thought was possible. The states are now voting. What she says is an absolute lie. And as far as the abortion ban, no, I'm not in favor of abortion ban, but it doesn't matter because this issue has now been taken over by the states.
Would you veto a national abortion ban if it came
Well,
to
I
your
won't
desk?
have to because, again, two things. Number one, she said she'll go back to Congress. She'll never get the vote. It's impossible for her to get the vote, especially now with the 50-50 and essentially 50-50 in both Senate and the House. She's not going to get the vote. She can't get the vote. She won't even come close to it. So it's just talk. You know what it reminds me of? When they said they're going to get student loans terminated, and it ended up being a total catastrophe. The student loans, and then her, I think probably her boss, if you call him a boss, he spends all his time.
All right, I don't want to get into this whole part here. So let's get back into her answer. Let's see if he gets into
with JD. In all fairness, JD, and I don't mind if he has a certain view, but I think he was speaking for me, but I really didn't. Look, we don't have to discuss it because she'd never be able to get it, just like she couldn't get student loans. They couldn't get student loans. They didn't even come close to getting student loans. They taunted young people and a lot of other.
See, this is where he goes off into another topic, and I don't like that he does that he did that, especially. Oh, right, whatever. I don't want to get into a breakdown of that. Let's get into her stupid Roe v. Wade claims.
You rightly mentioned, nowhere in America is a woman carrying a pregnancy to term and in asking for an abortion.
That's just not true at all. That's not true at all. In fact, I got some clips on that. That I have some clips on. Let me dig that up here. You could say term. What do you mean term? When the baby is clearly viable? This was going viral today. This clip right here.
Right, calling the Care Clinic in Bethesda, Maryland.
Thank you for calling Care. How can I help you?
Let's make this a little louder so you all can hear it. She's calling the Bethesda Medical Clinic in Maryland. Let's go back.
Right, calling the Care Clinic in Bethesda, Maryland.
Thank you for calling Care. How can I help you?
I am looking to have an abortion.
How far along are you?
I'm 34 right now. I am in a pretty desperate situation. My boyfriend is kind of out of the picture now, so I don't
Why do I need to get an abortion? Well, my boyfriend left me.
really have any support.
An abortion at any stage is actually much safer than delivering a term pregnancy. It's a 4 to 5 day procedure. We do some basic lab work on you and start to dilate your cervix. After that, we do what we call the fetal injection. A needle is inserted through the abdomen and into the fetal heart where lidocaine is injected, and that will completely numb the fetus so there's no pain. And then after that, we inject a medication called digoxin and another medication called KCL into the fetal heart, which will slow and then stop the fetal heartbeat. And then on that 4th day, depending on how your cervix is dilated, we'll break your water, and then we'll give you a medication called misoprostol. Misoprostol will sort of induce contraction and increase the dilation of your cervix. You're going to have contractions and cramping, and then we'll assist you in sort of pushing in the induction and then remove all of the products of conception. You're definitely going to feel discomfort and cramping and a lot of pressure, but we do give you fentanyl and Versed during the procedure. We specialize in later trimester care. Our doctor is very well versed in what he's doing, and he's very good.
Maybe that's why they're trying to let fentanyl across the border, because they got so many abortions going on.
I'm not like a rare situation. Y'all help women this late in pregnancy all the time.
All the time.
There you go. Go on. No one's carrying to abortion. No one's carrying to term. 34 weeks. If you can't do the math, that's well into the 8th month.
That is not happening. It's insulting to the women of America. And
No, it's not. Who are the women of America? Who the heck? Is there a group called the Women of America? The Women of America. I mean, what does that even mean? The Women of America. It's like I take offense on behalf of the women of America. Unless you're speaking up for the Black widows of America.
understand what has been happening under Donald Trump's abortion bans.
I meant the spider. Don't do that. I was talking about the spider, like the deadly lethal scorpions of America. I'm gonna get in the comments now.
Who pray and dream of having a family are being denied IVF treatments. What is happening in our country? Working people, working women who are working 1 or 2 jobs, who can barely afford childcare as it is, have to travel to another state to get on a plane sitting next to strangers to go and get the health care she needs.
Oh, yeah. And the other lie she said was that they want to sign a national abortion ban, which is just ridiculous because that's not his platform. It's not the Republican 2024 platform. Nothing. It's all Lindsey Graham 2 years ago. He's a clown. But that's not the 2024 platform.
Barely can afford to do it. And what you are putting her through is unconscionable. And the people of America
You're unconscionable. Your lies are unconscionable.
The majority of Americans believe in a woman's right to make decisions about her own body. And that is why in every state where this issue has been on the ballot, in red and blue states both,
Amen.
The people of America have voted for freedom.
Vice President Harris.
And so then what are you worrying about? What are you worrying about? If that's true, then what are you worrying about? Then that's fine. That's fine. The states are deciding. Isn't that better for you? It's much more of a resounding win. What are you talking about? Why? How is that an argument? How is that an argument against against the 10th Amendment and freedom of states to decide. Like, what does that even mean? That was what I meant to do. That's what I meant to do. That's the little sub guy, because every day I'm losing another 30 subs. So since I've lost almost 1,000 subs at this point. It's so sad. It's so sad. YouTube is terrible. They're evil. They're freaking evil. So that little guy is the reminder. Please hit the sub button. If you like my content, you want to be able to find me again, you should hit the little bell, the little ding ding, so this way you get notified when I put out a new video, which does happen from time to time. So you get notified when I'm going live. Little ding ding, ding ding, ding ding. All right. Big Wiggle says the mods letting Kamala blatantly lie last night could be partially tied to the reason for MSM going after Kamala last week. So they appear impartial to independence. P.S. I'm late tonight. It's okay. I forgive you for being late. Everyone gets here when they can. I understand. Let's go forward here, because we got a lot more lies to expose.
I have to respond.
This question. He was looking at Kamala.
To the root causes of migration from Central America. We know that illegal border crossings reached a record high in the Biden administration. This past June, President Biden imposed tough new asylum restrictions. We know the numbers since then have dropped significantly. But my question to you tonight is, why did the administration wait until 6 months before the election to act? And would you have done anything differently from President Biden on this?
So I'm the only person on this stage who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations for the traffic. United States Congress, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Senate, came up with a border security bill, which I supported.
Yeah, okay. This border bill that she's talking about here, I've gone through this on this show many, many times. It mandates 500,000 illegal aliens being allowed into this country every single year, and the president is legally prohibited from stopping that. You cannot cut it down by any fewer. That when we shut the border, and we have it as tight as possible, if we were to completely make it impossible for any coyotes or whatever she wants to call them, and we stopped everyone from coming across the border, we must admit at points of entry every single day 1,400 illegal aliens. If you do the math, multiply it by 30, that is 42,000 illegal aliens that by law the president has no power to stop from coming into the country. Multiply that by 12 months and you come up with 496,000, nearly 500,000. 494,000. Nearly, did I do my math right there? It's 12 times, it's 480 plus 2 times 6. 492,000. 2 times 6, yeah. 492,000. Basically 500,000 illegal aliens every single year must come into the country under her shut the border bill, because that's what Democrats do when they write a bill. Whatever it is they're calling it, it's inevitably the exact opposite. They have an Inflation Reduction Act, whoop, inflation. Shut the border bill, flood in immigrants. Anything they pass. If you want to know how terrible it is, just imagine they called it the exact opposite, and that is what's baked into that bill invariably. Truth is, Trump didn't have a comeback there. These are not his abortion bans. The IVF issue isn't a ban. It's the Alabama courts. Trump was not prepared. I think he did a good job in saying that it should go back to the states. He should not be touching that issue. They brought that issue up second because they wanted to help her get her footing. It's not a big issue that's going on in the federal in the federal election. Why are you coming to that second? You're coming to that before the border crisis? Why? Why are you doing that? This is what Americans are deeply concerned about. You're trying to make it an issue. That's why you put it second. And I think that his answer there is it's a state's issue is the best answer possible. Is Trump black? Basically the same color. They all are the same color. Soon I can unsub to get you under 100K. God bless you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
And that bill would have put 1,500 more border agents on the border to help those folks who are working there right now overtime, trying to do their job. It would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States. I know there are so many families watching tonight who have been personally affected.
Oh, shut up. She's so sympathetic. Like I said, she wants fentanyl in here because they use it during abortion process. I want to get to the next topic where she starts talking about SCOTUS immunity. So we're going to get past him. Move along. Because I'm not watching every minute of this thing. If you want to see that, you can watch last night. Uh-oh. It's not playing.
Supported. And that...
Well, that's not good. All right, let's find a different.
Liz Cheney. And if you want to really know the insider,
You're saying their dog was eaten by the people that went there.
Again.
You talk about extreme.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's pretty freaky.
You know,
it's pretty freaky. Today, everyone was sharing out on social media evidence that the geese, there have been reports about the geese being eaten by the Haitians. There has been little evidence that's come forward, at least documenting, other than independent claims. But there's nothing that in any official records would show pets like cats and dogs. So unless people are keeping geese as pets in Springfield, Ohio, I doubt that that's actually something that can be verifiably proven as being true. While we're on this topic, this is a good time. I promised you I was going to have the funniest video of the day. And I sort of told people you could skip ahead. I told them you could skip ahead and you can watch this funny video. I need to pause this right now. I need to pause and share with you when he's talking about the pets in Springfield, Ohio. Because when I heard the first time I heard Springfield, Ohio, I thought what you thought, what you should have thought, which is da 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 dum bump ba ba bum bum bump. That's what you should be thinking when you hear Springfield, Ohio. And that's what makes this the best video of the day. The best, and it's not even close. It's like if you were trying to compete with this guy, you had no chance. Zero chance. Zero chance. What I'm about to share with you here is genius. Just genius. This is a guy who took yesterday's debate answers from Donald Trump, clips, little sound bites from Donald Trump, as said by various characters from The Simpsons. So this is Donald Trump's words as said by The Simpsons.
No! I have a concept of a plan.
Why in Springfield they're eating the dogs, the people that came in here.
Springfield, they're eating the dogs. It's so good. This guy is so good.
They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets, the people that live here.
Yeah! Now she wants to do transgender operations on illegal aliens in prison!
This is so good. Oh my God, this is so good.
They're eating the pets, the people that live here.
Yeah! Now she wants to do transgender operations on illegal aliens in prison! I got involved with the Taliban. And then I read that she was black. Either way, it's okay with me. Execution after birth. It's like for
Execution after birth. So good. You're doing that in Dr. Nick's voice. Dr. Nick doing his abortions. Execution after birth.
prison. I got involved with the Taliban. And then I read that she was black. Either way, it's okay with me. Execution after birth. It's like 4 sentences, like run, spot, run. And I told Abdul, don't do it!
Our country is going to hell. Thank you.
No! So good. So good. Oh my God. I think that was genius. That was genius. That was so good. That guy is very talented. Very talented individual. All right, where were we? Let's get back into breaking down the lies of Kamala. The lies of Kamala Harris.
This is, I think, one of the reasons why in this election, I actually have the endorsement of 200 Republicans who have formerly worked with President Bush, Mitt Romney, and John McCain, including.
Because they're power hungry losers. That's basically it. Trump should mention dead people at the hands of migrants, the resources in Chicago going out of poor people's hands into the migrant crisis. Yes, I agree with you on that. It's a better way of hitting on it. It's much, much better. I said yesterday you should have brought up all the people who are dead now because the migrants came here.
The endorsement of former Vice President Dick Cheney and Congress member Liz.
You bring up Laken Riley. I mean, Laken Riley. Because of this woman here, Laken Riley's dead. There you go.
Cheney. And if you want to really know the inside track on who the former president is, if he didn't make it clear already, just ask people who have worked with him.
If you want to know who she is, just ask her Marxist professor father.
His former chief of staff, a 4-star general, has said he has contempt for the Constitution of the United States. His former national security advisor has said he is dangerous and unfit. His former Secretary of Defense has said the nation, the republic, would never survive another Trump term. And when we listen to this kind of rhetoric, when the issues that affect the American people,
I'm amazed America's still standing after he said that yesterday,
are not being addressed.
They're being addressed through the economy. They're being addressed. Those are the issues, but she doesn't know what the issues are.
I think the choice is clear in this election.
President Trump, I'll give you a quick minute to respond here.
Thank you. Because when I hear that, see, I'm a different kind of a person. I fired most of those people.
See, this is he's letting it, like he's actually answering her. It's an interesting thing, there is, someone pointed out yesterday, and I'm just going to, while we're, I'll take a break from critiquing her lies to point out, you can do what he did, which is look straight ahead and never once look at her. Never once actually give her the courtesy of looking over in her direction as if she doesn't merit that. And that works okay if you're not letting yourself get ruffled by what she says. But all of a sudden now he starts going on here trying to defend that these people who hate him are people he fired. And this is part of, she's playing into his weakness, that I need everyone to love me. And the reason these people don't love me is because I fired them. That's part of his weakness. And it's a known part of his weakness that, he has to be mature enough to walk past and basically say, look, she's not addressing the issue here, which is that she's the reason that a third of the city of Springfield are illegal aliens. To hell with these idiots who for one reason or another are ponying up to the Democrats. There are lots of reasons. That happens in every election. There's tons of Democrats who are crossing the aisle over to me because they see what a disaster she is. So ask yourself this. Some people don't like my personality. I get that. I'm polarizing. Some people, millions of people love me. Millions of people don't. And that's okay. The question is policy here. Who's going to get the job done? And she can't answer on policy. Instead, she wants to say, well, there's 200 Republicans who don't like you. Okay. There's probably more than 200 who don't like me. I'm not here to win favor with Republicans. I'm here to get the job done. And something that I've proven capable of doing, and she's proven incapable of doing. And that it shuts the whole conversation down. You gotta start going through names like Liz Cheney or this general or that general or whatever their stupid opinions. You throw them all under the bus as being like losers who put their personal issues with me above the capacity to get the job done. And this is not something that's shocking that she brought up. Just be like, okay, there's some people out there who hate me. I wish someone could just sort of take him and sort of throttle him and say, dude, you want to go into the next election? This is how you have to handle this. There are people out there who hate me. Nancy Pelosi's never going to like me. If she decides to become a Republican and then she hated me, would that mean that I'm any different? So there's a whole freaking wing of the Republican Party which doesn't like me on a personal level. I'm not here to win their favor. I'm not here to impress them. I'm here to get the freaking job done. And I've proven I can. She's here to try and sow division and say, oh, he's scary and I can't get the job done. So instead, I'm going to try and make you think he's scary. That's what she's saying here. And you call her out on that. What she's basically trying to say that I'm some boogeyman or something like that. And she's like, oh, he's too scary to run the country. Therefore, you should vote for me, who I failed for the last 4 years. I mean, what kind of answer is that? And she would have melted into the floor. She would have melted just right there. You would have just basically seen just like this big blob of like I don't even know, brownish, blackish, the dyed hair. There would have been a blob. There would have been like melted plastic from like where her face used to be. Probably plastic from other parts of her body as well. She just would have been a blob. Then be like, oh my God, do we like scoop that out? What do we do with this big blob that's stuck here on the floor? And that's it. I mean, that's it. It's end of story. But instead, he's getting defensive of like, hey, I fire people, and that's why they don't like. It's like, just stop with why they don't like you. There are people who are not going to like you. Not everyone's going to like you. Not everyone likes you. So just bask in it. When you get the job done, you can even play it as when you get the job done. Some people are not going to be happy with it because they want business as usual in Washington, and I don't go along with that sort of thing. So those people are not going to like me. They're going to be supporting her. If you want someone who's going to do business as usual in Washington, go vote for Kamala. How's that been working for you? It's so many different ways that you can actually bring this back into policy and show how what a loser she is. A complete loser. And yeah, you can go into 95% of her staff quit on her, but that's giving too much credit to her argument. As far as like how popular you are is a reflection of how it's true. You can so now you're gonna get like a he said, she said, which of them is less popular? That's not currying favor with people who are undecided. Instead, you basically say, hey, look, are you here because you want to figure out who you like? Or are you here because you want to figure out who's going to get the job done? So I thought that's why we're here. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm here to get the job done. Something I've proven I can. Something she's proven completely incapable of. There you go. It's really that simple. And it's so frustrating. So frustrating. All right, let's get back into it.
Not to know and use with me and then incidents.
Great domestic deportation operation in the history of our country. You say you would use the national argument like
country in history. All they would.
President Harris.
Well, I think this is so rich coming from someone who has been prosecuted for national security crimes, economic crimes, election interference.
National security crimes. That's not what he hasn't been cited for that. He has not been cited for national security crimes. Economic crimes were civil. So no, that's not accurate either.
President Trump, thank you. I'll let you respond, Vice President Harris.
Well, I think this is so rich coming from someone who has been prosecuted for national security crimes,
No national security crimes.
economic crimes.
She's probably referring to Florida, which those cases have been dismissed. So not sure what that's about.
Election interference.
No, he hasn't been prosecuted for election interference. Technically, you can call the ones in New York that were involved there as far as it being election interference, but given the fact that Judge Merchan gave them such broad range, we don't know that it's about election interference. So, no.
Has been found liable for sexual assault, and his next...
I don't know that he's found liable for sexual assault. I believe he was found, that was the statements about sexual assault were found not to be defamatory. The defense of truth wouldn't work in that.
Big court appearance is in November at his own criminal sentencing. And let's be clear where each person stands on the issue of what is important about respect for the rule of law and respect for law enforcement. The former vice president called for defunding federal law enforcement, 45,000 agents.
You called for defunding the police and encourage people. It's like this is such a bad faith argument. This is ridiculous. Yeah, he's like, we have too many federal agents. We do. There's way too much bloat there. You brought in 87,000 new IRS agents. We should all be fired on day one of his administration also. 100%. Yeah, that's 100% accurate. How many cops is too much? Somehow, when he's president, you want to get rid of all the cops. Now that you're president, you want to have more, tens of thousands of more cops. Which is it? You literally were screaming. She went up there and was and advocating, saying, no, we should be defunding the police. They should be rioting. That's what she told Stephen Colbert. They should be rioting during BLM riots. They should continue. And now she's coming up here talking about how he's trying to get rid of 45,000 federal agents.
Get this, on the day after he was arraigned on 34 felony counts.
Yeah, because that's a reason, because that was an abusive process. That is why we need to have fewer cops. That's why. Because you've been abusing process in ways no one else ever has.
So let's talk about what is important in this race. It is important that we move forward, that we turn the page.
You were unwilling to turn the page for the last 4 years. That's why you kept trying to criminally prosecute him, meeting with Fani Willis yourself personally. Why? Why are you meeting with Fani Willis? Why? Why? It's because you don't want to turn the page. You're trying to get him thrown in jail. You could have turned the page. You could have left him alone. He wasn't even running at that point, but you had to go after him. I'm not sure. He may have been running at that point. But you were unwilling to turn the page over what happened before. You know, this is like, they're always screaming about how the right is about division when they sit here dividing. She's talking about turning the page when they're the ones who keep prosecuting him.
On this same old tired rhetoric and address the needs of the American people, address what we need to do about the housing shortage, which I have a plan for, address what we must do to support our small businesses, address bringing down the price of groceries. But frankly, the American people are exhausted with this same old tired playbook.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
Excuse me. Every one of those cases was started by them against their political opponent. And
all right, we're gonna move along here because I got a lot to talk about still. And I'm already almost at 2 hours.
Cases.
President Trump, thank you. A really quick response here, Vice President Harris, on this notion of weaponization of the Justice Department.
Well, let's talk about extreme and understand the context in which this election in 2024 is taking place. The United States Supreme Court recently ruled that the former president would essentially be immune from any misconduct if he were to enter the White House again.
No, that's not true. So he's immune from anything that has to do with things that he's immune with things that have to, which everyone always understood the president to be immune from this. This is something that was common knowledge before he was president, but that he would be immune from anything that he does that are part of his constitutional duties. Anything that's in the orbit of his presidential administration, there would be a rebuttable presumption of immunity. And anything that was exclusively his personal elements would not have any immunity attached to it.
Understand, this is someone who has openly said he would terminate, I'm quoting, terminate the Constitution of the United States.
Yeah, talk about terminating the Constitution of the United States. You basically got 34 guilty verdicts against him by ignoring his Fifth Amendment rights of due process to know what he's being charged with. You talk about terminating the Constitution. Your administration has committed the worst abuses of Americans' First Amendment rights in American history. You talk about terminations. That's the First Amendment that you've been abusing. You shut down people's ability to meet and gather unless they complied with your and freedom of assembly under the First Amendment. When you pass laws saying that people had to have various cards to prove they were eligible to come to meeting places in 2021. You're trying to have a mandatory gun buyback program. You've certainly advocated for that in the past. Well, you've done a 180 flip degree on that now because you don't believe in the Second Amendment. Frankly, if there were British soldiers here, I suspect you'd be trying to quarter them in our houses. You don't care very much about search and seizure because you sent your agents into Mar-a-Lago. While they certainly had a warrant, but instead of doing things the presumptively normal way, you're like, no, let's go break down the front door. I mean, technically break it down. Let's go barge in there and rifle through and take pictures and share them on the internet of the inside of Mar-a-Lago. These are the pictures when we splay around documents there to make it look as if he throws them all around his house when they actually were doing a whole photo layout to try and make him look as guilty as possible and poison a jury because you don't care about his Fifth and Sixth Amendment rights. So you're trying to poison a jury by making it seem as if he's some crazy person who's throwing documents around. You help spread the lie that he's sharing government secrets with other people, which also was violation of his Fifth and Sixth Amendment rights. So yeah, I'm guessing you're not. And when it comes to frankly the freedom of states who are trying to actually protect their own borders, you actually take them to court to try and keep them from protecting their own borders while federalizing every law you possibly can instead of respecting the 10th Amendment. So you talk about people who don't have respect for the Constitution, and we haven't even gotten into the completely unorthodox method by which you actually ascended to somehow usurp all of the delegates that voted for your boss in chief, the corpse in chief, Joe Biden. And then somehow you absconded with the hundreds of millions of dollars that were raised on his behalf and now suddenly became yours. So which of these two seem to not really believe in the Constitution?
That he would weaponize the Department of Justice against his...
Oh, I forgot. Weaponization. How can I forget about this? Also, not believing the Constitution, trying to pervert the 14th Amendment to all of a sudden start claiming that that's a basis to have him removed from being on the ticket. How did I forget that one?
Political enemies. Someone who has openly expressed disdain for members of our military. Understand what it would mean if Donald Trump were back in the White House with no guardrails, because certainly we know now the court won't stop him. We know J.D. Vance is not going to stop him. It's up to the American people.
Vice President Harris, thank you. Lindsay?
Vice President Harris, in your last run for president.
This is the one that weaponized, not me. She weaponized. I probably took a bullet to the head because of the things that they say about me. They talk about democracy. I'm a threat to democracy. They're the threat to democracy with a fake Russia investigation
we do have a lot
that went nowhere.
We have a lot to get to. Lindsay?
They're a threat to democracy with all of a sudden she's somehow the nominee. I mean, 2 out of the last 3 elections, Democrats have put up someone there who didn't get the majority of the votes. And then and in the middle election, the one that they didn't, they actually took the candidate who won. Then they ended up stealing the election in the general election. So we're in 3 consecutive elections where there's been some sort of shenanigans from the Democrats. 2016, they stole the primary from Hillary Clinton. 2020, they stole the general from Trump. And 2024, they steal the primary from Joe Biden. There you go. There you go. Democracy. We're 4 election cycles from the last time they had any sort of democracy in the Democratic Party.
Vice President Harris, in your last run for president, you said you wanted to ban fracking. Now you don't. You wanted mandatory government buyback programs for assault weapons. Now your campaign says you don't. You supported decriminalizing border.
This is the sort of questions that made me say, okay, you know what? This is a tough question that they're giving her. And this is what, and I feeling like, you know, they did this to sort of make us feel as if they're trying to be fair here, but then they start doing the whole fact-checking thing and ignoring fact-checking her.
Crossings. Now you're taking a harder line. I know you say that your values have not changed. So then why have so many of your policy positions changed?
So my values have not changed, and I'm going to discuss every one of the, at least every point that you've made. But in particular, let's talk about fracking because we're here in Pennsylvania. I made that very clear in 2020. I will not ban fracking. I have not banned fracking as Vice President of the United States. And in fact, I was the tie-breaking vote on the Inflation Reduction Act.
Inflation Causation Act.
Which opened new leases for fracking.
I'm just going to refute her current comment with her own mouth.
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So, yeah, there's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So, yeah.
Liar.
My position is that we have got to invest in diverse sources of energy so we reduce our reliance on foreign oil. We have had the largest increase in domestic oil production in history because of an approach that recognizes that we cannot over-rely on foreign oil. As it relates to my values, let me tell you, I grew up a middle-class kid raised by a hardworking mother who worked and saved and was able to buy our first home when I was a teenager. The values I bring to the importance of home ownership, knowing not everybody got handed $400 million on a silver platter and then filed bankruptcy 6 times, is a value that I bring to my work to say we are going to work with the private sector and home builders to increase 3 million homes, increase by 3 million homes by the end of my first term. My work that is related to having a friend when I was in high school who was sexually assaulted by her stepfather.
I don't believe anything she's saying here. I just can't prove it's not true.
And my focus then on protecting women and children from violent crime is based on a value that is deeply grounded in the importance.
She hasn't yet answered her flip-flopping. She just basically says, I have values, I have values, I have values. What about your fact that you change your position every 10 seconds?
Of standing up for those who are most vulnerable. My work that is about protecting Social Security and Medicare is based on long-standing work.
Why did you flip-flop is the question.
That I have done. Protecting seniors from scams. My values have not changed. And what is
your positions have changed on everything.
Important is that there is a president who actually brings values and a perspective.
She said, so here's another lie. She said she's going to address everything there. She didn't address any of them.
That is about lifting people up and not beating people down and name calling.
I don't even, it was name calling. I don't even remember there being any name calling.
The true measure of the leader is the leader who actually understands the strength is not in beating people down. It's
I have no idea what the hell she's even talking about at this point. The question is why you're flip-flopping, and now she's talking about like the true measure of a leader and her values. What the hell are you talking about? Why did you change your position?
in lifting people up. I intend to be that president.
President Trump, your
Well, first of all, I wasn't given.
Well, my response, I would be like, she hasn't answered the question. Why'd you flip-flop? I'm not answering until she answers her question. How am I supposed to respond when she didn't answer the question? That's what you should say. Is she going to answer your question? Your question is, why'd she change her positions on fracking? Why'd she change her position on gun buybacks? Why? What's happening here? Instead, she's just sitting here. I'm going to answer. I'm just never going to tell you what that answer is.
$400 million. I wish I was. My father was a Brooklyn builder, Brooklyn, Queens, and a great father.
This is him now talking about himself now instead of pointing out how terrible she is. I want to see him on the offensive. I want to see him go after her. He has to be going after her. Someone needs to sit down with him and point out all these things as to where this debate could have been stronger and sort of amp him up. This is how you're going to do it better next time. That your next debate is the last debate of your life. So maybe this will be the one you go out. This is one you're going to be remembered for forever. Go out there and kick her ass and end this damn thing right here and now. Show them you're a leader. Go out there and show how she's completely ineffective. Whatever she says about you, your rally size, your corruptness, how people hate you, none of that. That's all water off a duck's back. You go out there and you just keep saying, I get the job done. She can't. So she's trying to attack me personally, whether it's attacking me personally being offensive and being rude, or whether it's trying to attack me by having me thrown in prison or have government take my money away. But that's all she's got because she has no policy. Whatever policies she has or policies that she's claiming she has now are completely different from policies she had 10 minutes ago, and they'll be completely evaporated by the time she gets back into office. And we know this because if she actually meant them, she would implement them today instead of waiting until January. So she wants to lie to you, and even Bernie Sanders is telling you she's lying, she's being pragmatic and lying to you. There's 1,000 ways for him to skin this cat, and all he's got to do is just pretend that he doesn't hear any of the stupidity that she says about him. In addressing it, he loses.
I learned a lot from him. With the fund burned down one, they got rid of it, started getting rid of it, and the prices were going up the roof. They'll go back to destroying our country. And
I have a very thick skin. I prep for these shows by actually getting chalk and like running it on a chalkboard, like back and forth. Then I listen to videos of people running around basketball court in sneakers, no crowd, no ball, just running back and forth and the constant streaking sounds. And then I'm good to go. What's the secret? If you want to know.
Oil will be dead.
Of crisis. Mr. President, on January 6th, so watch our watching it unfold on about
make a speech. The mayor of Washington, it was done. There's a tape of her saying would have.
The question was about you as president, not.
I was also an acting senator. I was
Harris to respond here.
I was at the Capitol on January 6th. I was the vice president-elect. I was also an acting senator. I was there. And on that day, the president of the United States incited a violent mob.
Lie. Not true. He did not incite one. If he did, he would have been charged. He never incited anything. You know it. You're a prosecutor. You're an attorney. You know he didn't incite anything. You're flat out intentionally lying.
To attack our nation's capital.
That's why she's swallowing, because she knows it's not true.
Desecrate our nation's capital. On that day, 140 law enforcement officers were injured, and some died.
Nope, 0 died. Another lie. Fact check her. Fact check her. 0 J6 cops died. 0. Not Brian Sicknick, not any of them. Brian Sicknick, the one who everyone always points to, was ruled a cause of death unrelated to J6.
And understand, the former president has been indicted and impeached for exactly that reason. But this is not an isolated situation. Let's remember Charlottesville, where there was a mob of people carrying tiki torches.
Fine people hoax incoming.
Spewing anti-Semitic hate.
Look at the disgusting face she says as she lies.
And what did the president then at the time say? There were fine people on each side.
Lie, lie, lie. Debunked by Snopes. Debunked by ABC. How it is that they're not calling her out for that lie. This is the worst moment for me of the entire night. Because this is something that everyone there in the room knows is a lie. Everyone there knows is a lie. How do they not call her out for this lie right here?
let's remember that when it came to the Proud Boys, a militia, the former president said, stand back and stand by. So
that's not what he said. I think he actually said stand down, stand by, not stand back. He said stand down and stand by.
So for everyone watching who remembers,
it's not like they were like amassing on the steps of the Capitol.
What January 6th was, I say we don't have to go back.
Yeah, I'm going to keep trying to say that and hope that it actually resonates somewhere.
Let's not go back. We're not going back. It's time to turn the page.
That's what she keeps trying to say. Turn the page, not go back. Turn the page, not go back. Well, turn the page on you. You're the one there. Let's turn the page on you. Well, we're not going back to you. We're not going back to you. Time to turn the page on Kamala.
And if that was a bridge too far for you, well, there is a place in our campaign for you to stand for country, to stand.
You don't stand for country. You stand for yourself. You don't give the slightest damn about the country.
For our democracy, to stand for rule of law.
You don't believe in the rule of law. You believe in using the law for your own personal purposes to benefit you politically.
And to end the chaos and to end the approach that is about attacking the foundations of our democracy because you don't like the outcome. And be clear on that point. Donald Trump, the candidate, has said in this election there will be a bloodbath. If
another lie.
This and the outcome of this election is not to his liking.
That's not what he said. What he said is the auto industry will face a bloodbath. I mean, this is just a joke. This is a joke at this point. He said it'll be a bloodbath for the auto industry. And she's trying to make it as if that he's calling for an insurrection. I mean, what a completely in the context especially, what a completely disingenuous lie.
Let's turn the page on this. Let's not go back. Let's chart a course for the future and not go backwards to the past.
Let me just follow up here.
It was a different term, and it was a term that related to energy because they have destroyed our energy business. That was where bloodbath was. Also, on Charlottesville, that story has been, as you would say, deep.
Not auto industry, energy.
Bunked. Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity, Jesse, all of these people, they covered it. If they go an extra sentence, they will see it was perfect.
Why is he had to explain that instead of them explaining it? So now it's a question, is he telling the truth? Is he not telling the truth? Because when a moderator says it, it sounds like it's the voice of God saying it. Like they're the ones who are the truth tellers. They're the impartial ones here.
Who cheated, and then he lists donors, voters, election officials. He says will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
This is such a stupid, ridiculous question. I'm going to give you a quote that you're going to disagree with. So can you now, when I finish, just disagree with it and say what a terrible person he is?
Which will include long-term prison sentences. One of your campaign's top lawyers responded saying, we won't let Donald Trump intimidate us. We won't let him suppress the vote. Is that what you believe he's trying to do here?
What a stupid question. Such a stupid question. This is where they start going softball on her at this point in the debate.
Donald Trump was fired by 81 million people. So let's be clear about that. And clearly he is having a very difficult time processing that. But we cannot afford to have a president of the United States who attempts, as he did in the past, to upend the will of the voters in a free and fair election. And I'm going to tell you that I have traveled the world as vice president of the United States, and world leaders are laughing at Donald Trump. I have talked with military leaders, some of whom worked with you, and they say you're a disgrace. And when you then talk in this way,
it's weird that none of them are on record, but she's heard them.
The presidential
I call that a lie.
Debate and deny what over and over again are court cases you have lost because you did, in fact, lose that election.
No, that's not why. That's not why. As I explained in the very first video that I ever made. The very first video I ever made, before I was live streaming, the very first one that I uploaded here Well, the first one might be a comedy one. The very first serious one I put up was about the dozens of losses that Trump and other people acting on behalf of Trump and the GOP filed in the wake of the 2020 election, and why it is that they were 61-0. They were 0-61. And what I explained then, and I'll explain to you here and now in brief, is this, and this is what I explained on Spaces today as well. When a case comes before a court, like a good reporter, they are encumbered with the job of figuring out who, what, where, when, why. Not really why. Mostly who, what, where, when. That's what they're, sometimes why. When you deal with mens rea, I guess, is the why. But virtually every court case is going to deal with who, what, where, when. So, what we as Americans care about in a case of national import is the what. What happened here? What actually happened here? That's what we all want to get to, the what. You still have the who, the where, and the when, and the when. The who is, do you have standing? Are you the right person here? The where is this the right venue? Is this the right court? Do we have subject matter jurisdiction? Do we have personal jurisdiction? The when is your time that you came in here appropriate? Is it too late? In which case it's moot. Is it too early? In which case it's not ripe. So those are procedural elements that never get to the what. The what might be you might be completely justifying the what. But if you can't satisfy the who, or you can't satisfy the why, the where, or you can't satisfy the when, in that case, that's what the court's going to say to you. So, if you're a judge, and the way you became a judge is you have to be a bit of a political animal. The way you become a judge is this. You go to law school. You bust your tail to try and get good grades. So you go to a good law school, get into a good law school, bust your tail to do really well in your first year, start clerking somewhere and rubbing the right elbows. Bust your tail to finish law school, and then bust your tail to pass the bar. Then you start working in public office more often than not, where you're not getting paid a lot of money compared to your other friends who graduated law school with you, because you decide to go into public service. You might join a federal agency, a state or local agency. You might be clerking for a judge. But you're basically working like a dog with a ton of law loans over your head and not making the fat money everyone's making because you're a political animal and you have aspirations, ambition. That's how you become a judge. Even in places where they are elected, in order to get on the ticket, you need to rub the right elbows, that you're the Democrat nominee in New York, which means you got the job. Because if you're not the Democratic nominee in New York, you didn't get the job. You're not going to be elected. Because no one who goes into a ballot box actually knows anything about any of the judges there. They just say, "Oh, is it blue? Oh, okay. I live in a city. This is blue. It's a Democrat. Boom, you're in. You're the judge." And everybody knows this. So in order to get there, you have to basically rub the right elbows, say the right things. All of these cases come up in front of judges who are in the city. So they're, by and large, going to be Democrats. And you have to be rubbing the right elbows. Now, you're sitting there as a trial court, and all of a sudden this case comes in before you, and this case now lands on your lap, and you're in a position now that there are millions of people in your own state who voted for candidate A and millions of people who voted against candidate A. Candidate A is now in front of you saying, "Hey, this election wasn't fair." You know that if you side with candidate A, especially if it's a Republican, you know that your career that you just spent the last 20 years of your life trying to develop before you finally got to the position of being a judge, this case falls on your lap. And if you actually go through the what, and you actually find that he's justifying the what, and that you actually overturn this election, the will of millions of people. No one's going to actually, everyone will call you a partisan hack, assume that you're just a big fan of candidate A, and not that you did it fairly. Everyone is assuming that you're rooted completely in politics, no matter which way you decide it, no matter how you decide it. There's going to be millions of people who will hate you. And if you end up deciding in his favor, your political career that you just spent the last 2 decades of your life having you and your family, your wife and your children all sacrificed for are kaput, gone, done. You think you're going to rise up to the appellate courts? Ha! You're going to become the scourge of your community. Your friends and neighbors are going to hate you. Your family will probably get death threats. That's if you go through the whole what and find in his favor and overturn the will of, and imagine if that has an impact on the overall election. Even if it doesn't have an impact on the overall election, it just changes your state. That's already something you're going to have to carry for the rest of your life. You're going to be known by the entire country, no, the entire world, as that guy who overturned the election of millions of people. That's what you're going to be known for forever, on something that you don't care about. And if anything, you might arguably, you might actually root for the other side. Being able to put that aside and deal with this with intellectual integrity. Now, all of a sudden, I'm going to sit here and try and find for this guy and stand up to millions of people, destroy my entire career? Or I can do this. I can look back at the what, the when, the where. I can look back at these things, the who, and I can say, oh, wait, you don't have standing here. You don't have standing. Goodbye. I don't have to deal with the what. Oh, this is not the right jurisdiction. I don't have to. You're in the wrong where. I don't have to deal with the what. Oh, this is already too late. It's moot now. Or it's not ripe sometimes. If it's a pivotal thing that comes up before the election, 10 seconds before the election, you deal with any of these things. And all of a sudden now, you don't have to get to the what, and you don't have to face that your entire career now will be tied to this case that you don't want to deal with. So now, you want to tell me, why is it that he's losing dozens of elections? Does that mean that he lost on the what? No. There's actually only one case that actually even got, or maybe like 3 cases that got to the what at all. And even when they got to the what, they made the yardsticks so ridiculously high that it was impossible. Impossible. You don't win an election in a courtroom. Ask Carrie Lake about winning an election in a courtroom. You don't win an election in a courtroom. It doesn't happen. And those are all the reasons that has nothing to do with whether or not an election is stolen. It's about the fact that you need to find a judge. The only way you find a judge like this is literally a judge who's at the end of his career. And he's about to retire. And he's like, I don't care. And I don't care about this being tied to my name and destroying my legacy in theory. I don't care about the death threats. Good luck finding that. Good luck finding a judge like that. So, yeah. I know that he supposedly went 0 for 60, 0 for 61. They could have come in there with video. They could have come before court with video of people saying, ha, 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 we're stealing the election. And nothing would have happened. Nothing. Nothing would have happened. But what ends up coming out of it is that everyone's up saying, oh, you see, 0 for 61. Oh, must be. You're a loser. You're a complete loser. Everyone knows it wasn't stolen. It wasn't stolen. And we proved it in court. So I get so outraged when I hear people saying, you lost in court because everyone knows you lost.
It leads one to believe that perhaps we do not have in the candidate to my right the temperament or the ability to not be confused about fact. That's deeply troubling, and the American people deserve better.
I'll give you 1 minute to respond, Mr. President.
Let me just say about world leaders.
Let's go forward. So here she's saying they don't respect her. World leaders don't respect her. And then all of a sudden, world leaders want him to win. Which is a little weird, but let's see what we got going on here.
International humanitarian law must be respected. Israel must do more to protect innocent civilians. You said that 9 months ago. Now an estimated 40,000 Palestinians are dead. Nearly 100 hostages remain. Just last week, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said there's not a deal in the making. President Biden has not been able to break through the stalemate. How would you do it?
I'll do it by engaging in political rhetoric. I don't care about this topic here. I'm going to sit here saying everyone's terrible here. Hamas is terrible. The Israel's terrible. Everyone's terrible. That's basically what she says. And I love everyone. I care about everyone here, and everyone's terrible. And I'll fix everything. I just can't. And I haven't yet, but I'll fix that. Same sure as shooting as I'll fix the economy. I'll fix the Middle East.
That these dictators and autocrats are rooting for you to be president again because they're so clear they can manipulate you with flattery and favors.
How do you know that? So this. What's your source for that? And the only thing we know publicly is Putin said he supports her. So which of these autocrats? How do you have any evidence at all? There's zero evidence of that. She's completely making that up. So that's a lie. You have no reason to think that's true.
And that is why so many military leaders who you have worked with have told me you are a disgrace. That is why.
What it's like, are they rooting for him or is he a disgrace? I don't even understand what the hell she's talking about at this point. They think he's a disgrace or they're rooting for him. Who are you talking? You're jumping back and forth here. I don't even know what the hell she's saying.
We understand that we have to have a president who is not consistently weak and wrong on
Vice
national
President
security,
Harris.
Including the importance of upholding and respecting in highest regard our military.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
In high regard, our military that she let die in Afghanistan and left behind all of their toys for the Taliban.
And she's the one that caused it. That's weak or national.
To the system, the move tonight. Do you want Ukraine?
We have a president who has best to have to stop all of these.
If elected, how would you deal with Vladimir Putin, and would it be any different from what we're seeing from President Biden?
Well, first
I won't answer that question either.
of all, it's important to remind the former president you're not running against Joe Biden, you're running against me. I believe the reason that Donald Trump says that this war would be over within 24 hours is because he would just give it up. And that's not who we are as Americans.
You're not answering the question. What would you do different from Joe Biden?
Understand what happened here. I actually met with Zelensky a few days before Russia invaded, tried through force to change.
Did you meet with Putin? She won't tell us that. She won't tell us that. Did you meet with Putin?
Territorial boundaries to define one of the most important international rules and norms, which is the importance of sovereignty and territorial integrity. And I met with President Zelensky. I shared with him American intelligence about how he could defend himself. Days later, I went to NATO's eastern flank, to Poland and Romania. And through the work that I and others did, we brought 50 countries together to support Ukraine in its righteous defense. And because of our support, because of the air defense, the ammunition, the artillery, the javelins, the Abrams tanks that we have provided, Ukraine stands as an independent and free country. If Donald Trump were...
Are they? What about the Donbass region? They have that? How's that going? How's that been going?
President, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv right now.
If he was president, let's face it, there's no chance he goes in. You know how we know that? Because he didn't go in. Why did he go in after Afghanistan? Why? Why didn't he do it during the previous 4 years?
And understand what that would mean, because Putin's agenda is not just about Ukraine. Understand.
This is complete BS. This is a complete lie. Zero indications that Putin would attack NATO.
Why the European allies and our NATO allies are so thankful that you are no longer president.
So thankful that they're contributing 1/4 of what we've contributed. They don't seem very scared about it. As a group, They've contributed 1/4 what we've donated. Why? Why are we the ones who are paying for everything there?
And that we understand the importance of the greatest military alliance the world has ever known, which is NATO, and what we have done to preserve the ability of Zelensky and the Ukrainians to fight for their independence. Otherwise, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv with his eyes on the rest of Europe.
That's a complete and total ridiculous statement. It shows either that she's lying to us or she has zero comprehension as to the situation in Eastern Europe.
Starting with Poland, and why don't you tell the 800,000 Polish Americans right here in Pennsylvania how quickly you would give up for the sake of favor and what you think is a friendship with what is known to be a dictator who would eat you for lunch.
Yeah. Somehow he didn't eat him in the first 4 years that he was there. Eat you for lunch. He's carving up Ukraine, and you tell me eat you for lunch. Okay.
Vice President Harris, thank you. We've heard from both of you on Ukraine tonight. Afghanistan came up in the last hour. I wanted her to respond to something you said earlier, and please, I'll give you a minute here.
Something sent her in, and he started the war because everything they said was weak and stupid. They said
this I want to hear because this is one of his best answers.
I'll give you a minute here.
I actually like this answer a lot.
Putin would be sitting in Moscow, and he wouldn't have lost 300,000 men and women, but he would have been sitting in Moscow. Quiet, please. He would have been sitting in Moscow, much happier than he is right now. But eventually, you know, he's got a thing that other people don't have. He's got nuclear weapons. They don't ever talk about that. He's got nuclear weapons. Nobody ever thinks about that. And eventually, maybe he'll use them, and maybe he hasn't been that threatening, but he does have that. Something we don't even like to talk about. Nobody likes to talk about it. But just so you understand, they sent her to negotiate peace before this war started. 3 days later, he went in and he started the war because everything they said was weak and stupid. They said the wrong things. That war should have never started. She was the emissary.
He's not calling her stupid. He's saying everything she said was weak and stupid.
They sent her in to negotiate with Zelensky and Putin, and she did. And the war started 3 days later. And that's the kind of talent we have with her. She's worse than Biden. In my opinion, I think he's the worst president in the history of our country. She goes down as the worst vice president in the history of our country. But let me tell you something. She is a horrible negotiator. They sent her in to negotiate. As soon as they left, Putin did the invasion.
President Trump, thank you. You did bring up something. You said she went to negotiate with Vladimir Putin. Vice President Harris, have you ever met Vladimir Putin?
Oh, have you ever met Vladimir Putin?
You clarified tonight?
No, I won't. I won't clarify that.
Yet again, I said it at the beginning of this debate. You're going to hear a bunch of lies coming.
You're not answering this question. It's like you keep saying he's a liar, he's a liar. I'm just not answering your questions.
From this fellow. And that is another one.
What is?
When I went to meet with President Zelensky, I've now
Did you meet with Putin?
Met with him over 5 times. The reality is it has been about standing as America always should.
You're not giving an answer. It's so aggravating. Give a friggin' answer.
As a leader upholding international rules and norms, as a leader who shows strength, understanding that the alliances
such strength that 3 days later Putin was in there.
We have around the world are dependent on our ability to look out for our friends and not favor our enemies because you adore strongmen instead of caring about democracy.
Again, she's trying to make it about him instead of her own failures. Did you meet Putin is the question.
And that is very much what is at stake here. The president of the United States is commander in chief.
Shut up. Oh my God. Answer the stupid question.
And the American people have a right to rely on a president who understands the significance of America's role and responsibility.
Word salad.
In terms of ensuring that there is stability and ensuring we stand up for our principles and not sell them for the benefit of personal flattery.
God,
you talked about Ukraine and Vladimir Putin. I do want to talk about
She just doesn't answer a single question.
Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of this debate. I want to move on to Afghanistan.
Said Trump did.
Literally, like the question was, did you meet Vladimir Putin? And here she's like doing on this whole dun, na, 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 na. That's my answer. Dun, na, 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 na. Like what the hell are you doing?
Joe Biden did. And as a result,
If you bear any responsibility in the way that withdrawal played out.
well, I will tell you, I agreed with President Biden's decision.
So yes, you're completely to blame. Short answer, yes. 100% yes. It was basically me.
To pull out of Afghanistan. 4 presidents said they would, and Joe Biden did. And as a result, America's taxpayers are not paying the $300 million a day we were paying for that endless war. And as of today, there is not one member of the United States military who is in active duty in a combat zone in any war zone around the world, the first time this century. But let's understand how we got to where we are. Donald Trump, when he was president, negotiated one of the weakest deals you can imagine. He calls himself a deal maker.
So I just need to chime in on that. Their American troops, that was a lie. When she said there are no troops who are in active military zones right now, we actually have troops. There's a tweet for you from Harris just said that the U.S. has no active duty troops in the combat zone for the first time in a century. We have troops in Syria and Iraq who were routinely attacked by Iran-backed militias. These soldiers were killed in Jordan earlier this year. So another lie. Another lie.
Even his national security advisor said it was a weak, terrible deal. And here's how it went down. He bypassed the Afghan government. He negotiated directly with a terrorist organization called the Taliban. The negotiation involved the Taliban getting 5,000 Taliban terrorists released. And get this. And the president at the time invited the Taliban to Camp David, a place of storied significance for us as Americans, a place where we honor the importance of American diplomacy, where we invite and receive respected world leaders. And this former president, as president, invited them to Camp David because he does not again appreciate the role and responsibility of the President of the United States to be commander-in-chief with a level of respect. And this gets back to the point of how he has consistently disparaged and demeaned members of our military, fallen soldiers, and the work that we must do to uphold the strength and the respect of the United States of America around the world.
Vice President Harris.
I'm going to just now fact check you again. Another lie. Sorry, you didn't get out because of Doha. Not according to a long-awaited GOP report, which came out last week, which the Hill report saying, report from the Republicans of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, released in the shadow 3-year anniversary of the U.S. exit, criticized President Biden for the rushed effort undertaken regardless of counsel from allies and advisors that led to the unnecessary deaths. Quote, the evidence proves President Biden's decision to withdraw all U.S. troops was not based on the security situation, the Doha agreement that she just claimed, or the advice of his senior national security advisors or allies. Rather, it was premised on his longstanding and unyielding opinion the United States should no longer be in Afghanistan. So, no, they were not forced out. That's not what there's a report which actually says she's a freaking liar. Yet another lie. What are we up to? Is anyone counting? Is anyone else counting? There's more. Don't worry, we're not done. I'm well over 24 at this point.
Response to her saying that
don't
I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn.
And I don't feel
I believe that the vast majority of us know that we have so much more in common than what separates us, and we don't want
shut up.
to rent the United States. Want better than this.
Want better than this.
Want someone who understands, as I do, I travel our country. We see in each other a friend. We see in each other a neighbor. We don't want a leader.
We don't want you.
I just have visions in the dream, the language their grandmother speaks. We all have the same dreams and aspirations. And
this
no
is
one
the
thinks
most
otherwise.
divisive presidency in the history of our country.
It's true. It is. It's easily.
Economy
Well, actually,
but
Obama was arguably
in
worse.
what is possible, one who brings a sense clearly.
Because inflation has made it so bad, and she can't get away with that.
Thank you. Your time is up,
I
Lindsay.
want to respond to that, though. I want to just respond briefly. Clearly, I am not Joe Biden, and I am certainly not.
Here's a joke that she thought was going to land. And maybe it's the weird face that she makes while she's telling this joke. But it just sort of just dies. This is like, it's like it looks like a fart that she's smelling. This is like, she thinks this is hilarious. Clearly, I'm not Joe Biden.
Donald Trump. And what I do offer is a new gen. And I am briefly. Clearly, I am not Joe Biden, and I am certainly not Donald Trump. And what I do offer is a new generation of leadership for our country.
Oh my God, it's a horrifying picture.
One who believes in what is possible, one who brings a sense of optimism about what we can do.
Oh, stop it. Sense of optimism. I will say this. He should have finished with a sense of optimism.
Instead of always disparaging the American.
You're always you spent the last hour and a half disparaging him.
American people. I believe in what we can do to strengthen our small businesses, which is why I have a plan. Let's talk about our plans and let's compare the plans. I have a plan.
And here we go. This is where she goes with her whole I have a plan moment. And this is the part that as she was saying it, I was like, she's trying to say this like, I have a dream. I have a dream that the white boys and girls of our neighborhood will walk hand in hand. And this is her, instead of I have a dream, this is her I have a plan moment. Now, this was purposefully designed because everyone knows she has no plan. She's been critiqued for having no plan. She has no clue. Everyone knows she has no clue. So they were hoping that she would be able to come out of this debate with this new theme of she has a plan. I have a plan. I have a plan. I have a plan. Turn the page. I have a plan. Turn the page. I have a plan. That was the rhetoric she was hoping for. What's that plan? It's pretty stupid, but I have a plan. I have a plan. So here she comes with her whole I have a plan. And frankly, I don't know if Trump realized, either he realized it intuitively or not, but he skunked it. Like he skunked that entire, he destroyed it. He really did. Here comes her I have a plan.
To give startup businesses $50,000 tax deduction, to pursue their ambitions, their innovation, their ideas, their hard work. I have a plan, $6,000 for young families for the first year of your child's life to help you in that most critical stage of your child's development. I have a plan that is about allowing people to be able to pursue what has been fleeting in terms of the American dream by offering a help with down payment of $25,000 down payment assistance for first-time home buyers. That's the kind of conversation, I believe, David, that people really want tonight, as opposed to a conversation that is constantly about belittling and name calling.
He's about to plan B her plan. He's about to plan B her plan.
Turn the page.
Vice President
and move
Harris.
forward.
And she wants to keep saying, turn the page, turn the page, turn the page.
Thank you. Let's turn to policy.
President
Let's
Trump,
turn back
we
to
have
policy.
to move on. President Trump.
Let's turn to policy,
She
please.
has a plan to defund the police. She has a plan to confiscate everybody's gun.
President Trump,
she
we
has
do
a
have to
plan
move
to
on to
not
other
allow
issues.
fracking in Pennsylvania or anywhere else.
Okay.
That's
Thank you,
what
Mr.
her plan is until just recently.
I just need
Lindsay,
to
go ahead.
She has a plan to defund the police. She has a plan to take away your guns. She has a plan to destroy fracking in this state. That's her plan. 120,000 jobs in Pennsylvania gone. That's her plan.
Trump,
No, the
President
former
Trump,
president has said
no, I'm
something
sorry.
twice that I need to
No,
respond to.
I'm sorry. We're
I
going
just
to
need
move on,
respond
Vice
one
President
time
Harris.
to what he has
President
said
Trump, this
multiple
is
times.
now your third time running for president. You have long vowed to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act. Also,
she's like, I don't trust you to come back from that one. Let's go into healthcare where we know he doesn't have a plan on that, so we can come after him on healthcare. So that was my. That was really, that part was really great. I really enjoyed that part a lot. All right, let's go to her next segment here.
also known as Obama.
Vice President, private healthcare, I absolutely.
Private insurance and create a government-run healthcare system. 2 years later, you proposed a plan that included a private insurance option. What is your plan today?
Well, first of all, I absolutely support, and over the last 4 years as vice president, private healthcare options. But what we need to do is maintain and grow the Affordable Care Act. But I'll get to that, Lindsay.
Is that where you stand on that? Okay. All right. Let me see if I have the clip up here. Is this the right one? Nope, that's not it. That's not it. It's going to. No, it's not it. Dang it. Do I have it here? No. I don't think I have it here, actually. But she's gone on record as saying that her plan is universal health care. I even threw it in Cenk's face yesterday when I got on Spaces with him. If you missed the end of my coverage last night, where I basically said, someone made a point, you can't throw it out in 30 seconds a plan. And Cenk says, sure you can. It's very easy. Very easy. Here's your easy 30-second answer. Universal health care. And I said, Cenk, that's not the answer. Even Kamala knows that, and she's been saying it over and over again. If it was the answer, she just would have said that. That's the answer you say when you want to get, when you don't care about getting the majority of Americans, you only care about getting 5%. That's it. Because most people who recognize that, hey, how are we going to pay for universal health care? We're going to have to really seriously increase people's taxes. Seriously increase people's taxes. When you say that, people are like, not so much. Not so much. Not so much. And the proof is that Kamala all of a sudden abandoned universal health care. If it was a winning argument, don't you think she would say that? Why would she flip-flop if she thought that was a winning argument? You flip-flop because you know that no one wants it.
Respond to a previous point that the former president has made. I've made very clear my position on fracking. And then this business about taking everyone's guns away. Tim Walz and I are both gun owners. We're not taking anybody's guns away. So stop with the continuous lying about this stuff.
Who's the liar? This is the person who believes in the Constitution so much she doesn't believe in the Second Amendment.
In recent days,
this is David Muir. Oh, recognize him? You recognize him? This is him at the Democratic primaries in 2020.
Former Vice President Biden has said about executive orders, some really talented people are seeking the nomination. They said, I'm going to issue an executive order. Biden saying there's no constitutional authority to issue that executive order when they say I'm going to eliminate assault weapons, saying you can't do it by executive order any more than Trump can do things when he says he can do it by executive order. Does the vice president have a point there?
Some things you can, many things you can't.
Let's let the senator answer.
Well, I mean, I would just say, hey, Joe, instead of saying no, we can't, let's say yes, we can.
Let's be constitutional. We got a constitution.
Yes, we can.
In recent days.
Yeah, let's be constitutional. We have a constitution. Yes, we can ignore the Constitution and take away people's guns. Yeah, look at that. Oh, I think I have another clip here also. Let me see if I can find that. Where are you? Is that it? Oh, come on. I know I got it here somewhere. Dag nabbit. Give me a moment. Give me a moment to look here. There's another clip I got. I know I got it here somewhere. Oh, this is it. I know I had the Laura Loman thing here for a second. There we go.
What would you do about the millions of specifically assault weapons that are already in circulation? What do you do about those?
Well, there are approximately 5 million, to your point, Craig. We have to have a buyback program, and I support a mandatory buyback program. It's
Mandatory
gotta be smart. We gotta
buyback.
do it the right way.
What would you do?
Mandatory buyback. There you go. There you go. There you go, Kamala.
Absolutely support, and over the last 4 years as vice president, private healthcare options. But what we need to do is maintain and grow the Affordable Care Act. But I'll get to that, Lindsay. I just need to respond to a previous point that the former president has made. I've made very clear my position on fracking. And then this business about taking everyone's guns away. Tim Walz and I are both gun owners. We're not taking anybody's guns away. So stop with the continuous lying about this stuff.
What would you do about the millions of specifically assault weapons that are already in circulation? What do you do about those?
Well, there are approximately 5 million, to your point, Craig. We have to have a buyback program, and I support a mandatory buyback program. It's got to be smart. We got to do it the right way.
What would you do?
Mandatory buyback program. And then she claims people are lying about her, as if she didn't say this publicly on national TV, on MSNBC, that she supports a mandatory buyback program. And then when people say you want to get rid of people's guns, she's like, stop lying about me. Who's the liar, Kamala? Who's the liar? That was my clippable moment. Did you clip it? Did you clip it? Yeah. I need that guy to come back, the one who does last night on the following program and gives a 60-second clip. I just fed it to you there. 2 hours and 50 minutes into this thing. All right, let's go back.
As it relates to the Affordable Care Act, understand, just look at the history to know where people stand. When Donald Trump was president, 60 times he tried to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. 60 times. I was a senator at the time when I will never forget the early morning hours when it was up for a vote in the United States Senate. And the late, great John McCain, who you have disparaged as being, you don't like him, you said at the time, because he got caught. He was an American hero. The late, great John McCain, I will never forget that night, walked onto the Senate floor and said, no, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't get rid of the Affordable Care Act. You have no plan. And what the Affordable Care Act has done is eliminate the ability of insurance companies to deny people with pre-existing conditions. I don't have to tell the people watching tonight, you remember what that was like? Remember when an insurance company—
This is like I'm about to talk to I'm about to talk down to the American people. You remember what that was like? You remember? You remember? God, so grating. So how can people look forward to 4 years of that?
Company could deny if a child had asthma,
so
if someone was a breast cancer survivor, if a grandparent had diabetes. And thankfully, as I've been vice president and we over the last 4 years have strengthened the Affordable Care Act, we have allowed for the first time Medicare to negotiate drug prices on behalf of you, the American people. Donald Trump said he was going to allow Medicare to negotiate drug prices. He never did. We did.
What the hell does that mean? Allow Medicare to negotiate drug prices? The negotiations said that out of all the schedules of pricing on drugs, of thousands of drugs, that they'll lower the prices by a certain percentage, I think like 10% on 3, to be determined sometime in the future. It's like, what the hell are you even talking about? That's nothing. They cite this as some massive accomplishment. A massive accomplishment.
And now we have capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month. Since
it was capped there beforehand. Now it's only capped for old people. It's not capped for everyone. So no, that's not true. They said they're hoping to get it capped for everyone, but right now it's capped for the elderly.
Since I've been vice president, we have capped the cost of prescription medication for seniors at $2,000 a year. And when I am president, We will do that for all people, understanding.
Oh, I could be mistaken.
that
It could be that insulin is cheaper for people who I don't want to misspeak. So I could be mistaken on the $35 in insulin. He had gotten down there before he left office. It's only because he ripped up his EO that it shot back up for a few years.
The value I bring to this is that access to health care should be a right and not just a privilege of those who can afford it. And the plan has to be to strengthen the Affordable Care Act, not get rid of it.
Vice
Fastest
President
prologue
Harris,
in
thank
terms
you.
of where Donald Trump stands on that.
I want to move to an issue that's important for a
She
lot
made
of
a mistake. No.
potential threat. The question to you both tonight
Climate
is
change.
what would you do to fight climate change? And Vice President Harris, we'll start with you. 1 minute for you each.
Well, the former president had said the climate change is a hoax.
It is a hoax.
And what we know is that it is very real. You
That's another lie.
ask anyone who lives in a state who has experienced these extreme weather occurrences,
And they certainly don't understand how climate works better than anyone else.
who now is either being denied home insurance or it's being jacked up.
What does that do with climate change?
You ask anybody who has been the victim of what that means in terms of losing their home, having.
Well, now we're going to start playing violins for people who are losing their homes because they can't afford to live in your economy, as if that's somehow related to climate. Interesting.
Nowhere to go. We know that we can actually deal with this issue. The young people of America care deeply about this issue.
You haven't said anything. You literally haven't said anything yet.
And I am proud that as vice president over the last 4 years, we have invested $1 trillion in a clean energy economy, while we have also increased domestic gas production to historic levels.
Gas production, which right now is $1.50 higher than it was when he left office.
We have created over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs while I have been vice president.
No, you haven't. No, you haven't created any of those jobs. They came back. That's a lie.
We have invested in clean energy.
And frankly, you should be very careful about talking about creating new jobs when your last time that you guys claimed you created jobs, turned out you were lying by 800,000 jobs. It's funny that you picked that number 800,000 because that's how much they overestimated last time.
To the point that we are opening up factories around the world. Donald Trump said he was going to create manufacturing jobs. He lost manufacturing jobs.
You know, the COVID is kind of a stupid way of having a yardstick. So he lost jobs because people shut down during COVID, and now you won't take credit for those jobs coming back as if it's some massive accomplishment. Yay!
And I'm also proud to have the endorsement of the
Fortunately, most Americans see through that crap.
United Auto Workers and Sean Fain, who also know that part of building a clean energy economy includes investing in American-made products, American automobiles. It includes growing what we can do around American manufacturing and opening up auto plants, not closing them like happened under Donald Trump.
Vice President Harris, thank
That's the Germans help. A hooker with a heart of black evil. That's funny. Trump and Harris briefly mentioned their record on Koof. Guys, Koof is as relevant as J6. It's an unalived horse, and most people are sick of hearing it. I agree with you on that. Any political party who wants to end the lives of babies in or out of the womb are Prince of Darkness worshipping demons. Dang, one old guy ain't holding back his opinions tonight. Self-taught word salad and salad tossing. Woo!
Thank you.
That didn't happen under Donald Trump. Let me just tell you, they lost 10,000 manufacturing jobs this last month. They're all leaving.
Yeah. The other thing I missed when she was talking about abortion way back is that she mentioned that he's trying to shut down IVF, and that was the last slide I'm going to cover because I don't know if I want to listen to the closing statement. It's really painful, but what the heck? Let's just finish it up. Let's just get through it all. But yeah, she lied about his position on IVF also when he kept saying, I'm totally fine with IVF. I don't know why anyone would think otherwise.
live from the National Constitution Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Welcome back tonight. The time has come for closing statements, and Vice President Harris, we begin with you.
So I think you've heard tonight two very different visions for our country. One that is focused on the future, and the other that is focused on the past, and an attempt to take us backward.
Where was he
But we're
focused
not
on the
going
back?
back. And
Where anyone hear him talk about focusing on the past?
I do believe that the American people know we all have so much more in common than what separates us, and we can chart a
No one said otherwise.
new way forward. And a vision of that includes having a plan, understanding the aspirations, the dreams,
You don't have a plan. That's the problem.
the hopes, the ambition of the American people, which is why I intend to create an opportunity economy, investing in small businesses.
I think it's hilarious that she stole opportunity zones from him and I was calling it an opportunity economy. I think it's hilarious.
In new families, in what we can do around protecting seniors, what we can do that is about giving hardworking folks a break and bringing down the cost of living.
Oh, please. Why aren't you doing it already?
I believe in what we can do together that is about sustaining America's standing in the world.
She's not saying anything. She's literally saying nothing.
And ensuring that we have the respect that we so rightly deserve, including respecting our military and
No one respects you.
ensuring we have the most lethal fighting force in the world. I will be a president that will protect our fundamental rights and freedoms, including the right of a woman to make decisions about her own body.
No, it's not a federal issue at all.
And not have her government tell her what to do. I'll tell you, I started my career as a prosecutor. I was a DA, I was an attorney general, a United States senator, and now vice president. I've only had
She prosecuted people who were for marijuana use and then laughed about using it herself because she's a corrupt wannabe dictator.
one client, the people.
No, the one client is you. That's the only client you ever had.
And I'll tell you, as a prosecutor, I never asked a victim or a witness, are you a Republican or a Democrat?
No, I just asked, what can you do for me?
The only thing I ever asked them, are you okay? And that's
Yeah, I don't think she's ever asked that question to anyone, but actually care about the answer. I don't know. Maybe someone who's a sugar daddy.
the kind of president we need right now.
Someone who's good at landing sugar daddies.
Someone who cares about you and is not putting themselves first. I intend to be a president for all Americans.
No, you're not.
And focus on what we can do over the next 10 and 20 years to build back.
We haven't build back from what? From you? That's what she's saying. Build back from me.
Back up our country by investing right now.
Build back from what I've done to this country.
In you, the American people.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump?
So she just started by saying she's going to do this, she's going to do that, she's going to do all these wonderful things. Why hasn't she done it? She's been there for 3.5 years. They've had 3.5 years to fix the border. They've had 3.5 years to create jobs and all the things we talked about. Why hasn't she done it? She should leave right now, go down to that beautiful White House, go to the Capitol, get everyone together and do the things you want to do, but you haven't done it and you won't do it because you believe in things that the American people don't believe in. You believe in things like we're not going to frack. We're not going to take fossil fuel. We're not going to do things that are going to make this country strong, whether you like it or not. Germany tried that. And within 1 year, they were back to building normal energy plants. We're not ready for it. We can't sacrifice our country for the sake of bad vision. But I just ask one simple question. Why didn't she do it? We're a failing nation. We're a nation that's in serious decline.
Right here is where he should jump in with, like, we don't have to be. All we have to do is turn the page on Kamala Harris. Boom. And you want feast or you want famine. Right now we're in famine. You know it, I know it, she knows it. We all know we're in famine. You don't want famine anymore. You want feast. You know I can bring it to you. Turn the page on Kamala Harris and let's start feasting. Boom. End the speech. Good night.
We're being laughed at all over the world. All over the world, they're laughed. I know the leaders very well. They're coming to see me. They call me. We're laughed at all over the world. They don't understand what happened to us as a nation.
No one cares about what the rest of the world is saying. Americans, you know that Americans are all into their own personal economy. No one cares about what the nations of the world are. Just tell Americans, you want a feast, you want famine. That's all you need to do. No one cares about what happened in Germany when they tried her stupid plans. Just make it very simple. You want feast, you want famine. You know I can deliver. I have delivered. I will deliver. And it's time for us to start getting that delivery. We need it now. We can't stand another 4 years of this. We need it now. Feast or famine, please decide. Which do you prefer? Make it a no-brainer. It's so easy.
We're not a leader. We don't have any idea what's going on. We have wars going on in the Middle East. We have wars going on with Russia and Ukraine.
No one cares about this. No one cares about this.
You know we're going to end up in a third world war, and it'll be a war like no other because of nuclear weapons, the power of weaponry. I rebuilt our entire military. She gave a lot of it away to the Taliban. She gave it to Afghanistan. What these people have done to our country, and maybe toughest of all, is allowing millions of people to come into our country. Many of them are criminals, and they're destroying our country. The worst president, the worst vice president in the history of our country.
President Trump, thank you. And that is our ABC News presidential debate from.
So there you go. I think we did a pretty thorough job. I'm very pleased with my work product tonight. You should be too. If you came late, go back to the beginning. We covered a lot of lies. There's more than 24 lies that I covered tonight. Probably closer to 36. Comrade Kamala, Simp, and Moderators versus Trump debate. 2024. Winner, Trump. Comrade Kamala got a brain transplant from a fossilized dodo bird. Wow. All right. Well, one last thing for me to share with you. Tomorrow, by the way, I told you all, I'm going to have locals, goodlogic.locals.com, goodlogic.locals.com. I'm going to be going over for you, explaining to you the SAVE Act. That's my plan, unless something massive pops up. I plan on explaining to you how it is that this SAVE Act, which is designed to preserve election integrity, designed to mandate voter ID across the nation, and whether or not we should be supporting this bill. Because the first thing would be like, how would I not be supporting this bill? But I'm going to talk to you about how the sausage was made, courtesy of a conversation that I had with George Santos, who was there in the sausage factory itself. Don't make any jokes. I know the jokes write themselves. He was there in the sausage factory. He knows how the sausage is made, and he walked us through on a space which at the very beginning of a space that was not recorded. So it was like heard by under 100 people. You probably were not one of them. And in it, he walks through, and I was like asking him questions so he can explain what would happen to this bill as it works its way from the House to the Senate, back to the House, all these different issues, and why it's been crafted the way it's been crafted, what the potential pitfalls are, what the likely result is of this whole thing. And I need to walk you through it. You will have a much better appreciation and understanding for how Congress works, which committees that you may have never even heard of are actually arguably the most significant committees on the Hill. And you'll have a far deeper understanding as to how this is, and I'm going to make it so simple. You're going to be the smartest person at any conversation in understanding how our government works. And it's like really easy. It's really easy. It'll take me 20 minutes to explain. By the time I'm done, you'll be able to like basically say, oh, it's this, boom, done. And it's a really interesting thing that it really applies to pretty much any law that was trying to work its way through Congress. You could better understand why these bills die and why some flourish and why some die. And you can better understand how we can assess congressmen and women and the job that they're doing and what their actual agenda is. He walked me through how you can assess who's part of the uniparty and who actually cares about getting things done. It was a really remarkable conversation that I plan on sharing with you and walking you through it. And this way, I was like making sure I understood it, because I was like, I need to be able to convey this to my audience so that they can be better educated. And when I'm talking to them about these different bills in the future, that they'll all be on the same page as far as understanding that, hey, this is this is why it is that this bill, which sounds really great, may not be. So with that, that's going to be tomorrow afternoon on Locals, goodlogic.locals.com. I thank you all for joining me. I'm going to do a quick search around, make sure I didn't miss anything, which I sometimes do. I know I'm terrible about, and I feel very bad when that happens. I did miss Andres Burzin saying 3 of 3. I missed 1 of 1 and 2 of 2. How did that happen? I believe 2 things. If you let me make one rant, 1, Trump should not schedule another debate with her. She will get this bump from this debate about her emotional abortion claim stories. Why are we... Why are we what? I need to know. I don't know if he did this in order. Why are we? I need to know. I don't know. He skipped number 2. We need to talk about the fact that they care so much about foreign borders and not our own border. Please read my thread. I tried reading your thread. Andrew, I was here. I was here for you. But I missed the middle part. Why are we what? Don't know. I'm sorry. I genuinely tried. The effort was there. All right. Good night, Joe. Great show. Thank you, DS. I hope you all enjoyed. I hope you all learned something. At least now you can understand how many freaking times Kamala Harris tried lying to the American people, of which she was held to account by the moderators 0 times. Instead, they were too busy fact-checking Trump on things he said that were actually true. So, some of their questions were pretty aggressive to both sides, but the slant was there to help make her look good and make him look bad. And it's frustrating. But if you're complaining about the refs, that means you don't feel like you won at the very least. At the very least, you're not happy with the outcome. Maybe you didn't lose. If you ask me, my daughter asked me who won the debate. My 10-year-old asked me this. What I said to her was, I don't know. I don't know. Like, I felt like he did. I felt like he won the debate and she did better. If that makes any sense. I felt like he won the debate, but yet the result was better for her. And that's because I think the public had such a low yardstick for what she had to do to succeed. Because the comparison was the last Democrat who got up there and tried debating him had to end his campaign. And no one thought that at the end of her spiel. So, considering how many questions were starting to pop up all over the place, some people felt like they got answers. In review, you look at it, and she didn't give us very much. All she gave us was more fluff and more fluff and more fluff. That was it. More fluff and baiting. Anyway, that's my show. The real thing you should take away from the show, like the one thing you should take away, 2 things. Number 1 is don't eat lab meat. Don't even think about it. If you see it, just like say, I don't even know what the hell that is. What's in there, and most importantly, do not eat the bugs. Just don't eat the bugs. Have a good night, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Godspeed.